Day 2 of the semifinals in Clutch Chess Champion Showdown. The top 4 players of the United States were back in action to decide who moved on and who would go home. Fabiano Caruana overcame Leinier Dominguez with a dominating performance, while Wesley So stormed back with 3 stunning victories against Hikaru Nakamura and held on at the end to book his ticket into the finals. 2 Olympic teammates go toe-to-toe in a hunt for the trophy. The first day of the exciting Clutch Chess Finals coming up next.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Clutch Chess. We have entered the finals. I'm Jennifer Shahade and I'm here again with Yasser Seirawan and Maurice Ashley to bring to you this action-packed day of chess. Not quite like what you're used to seeing. Yes, hello.
Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Maurice. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our finals of Clutch Chess. And what semifinals we enjoyed. Oh my goodness, as we saw fabulous Fabiano playing some of the best chess I've ever witnessed that young man playing. It was a pleasure. And coming back in day 2, Wesley So was just regal. It was fantastic, and I'm looking forward to a great finals. I love your format, Maurice.
Well, right now, it's everybody's format. The fact that they played in such incredible elan, aggressiveness. You looked at how Fabi played. It looked like an alien inhabited his body. He played with such amazing, just passion to want to destroy his opponent, which is what he absolutely did. 15-3, what kind of score is that? And Wesley So, of course, with the comeback after a disaster in game 5, not winning a game where you're 3 pawns up in an end game, that you have to bounce back. And especially then losing the next clutch game, but he showed his spirit with 3 wins in a row to start the second day off, and he never looked back.
And here's how we got here. This is the bracket, as you can see, Wesley. So that narrow margin of victory against the rapid blitz bullet legend Hikaru, who's now out of here. He is gone from the competition, as is Leinier Dominguez. Now that match, on the other hand, not as close. Look at that big fat 15 points that Fabiano Caruana scored, which is going to put him in this critical finals match against Wesley So, as we will be crowning our first ever Clutch Chess champion. And here's how the format works for those of you who didn't see the semis. It is going to work the same way. So we're going to have 6 games a day. That's 6 games today and 6 games tomorrow on Friday. Start out with 4 regular rapid games worth 1 point each using our scoring system. And then we go to our final 2 games of the day, which is going to be in clutch game fashion worth 2 points each. As yesterday will all be played at game 10 with a 5-second increment per move. And I'm just itching to see how this is going to get going. But we do have Grandmaster Maurice Ashley to give us a little bit of an insight into everyone that was invited to Clutch Chess, those who were vanquished and those who still remain.
Well, indeed, we're talking about 4 of America's stars, the top 4 at the moment, as a matter of fact. But somebody had to win and somebody had to lose. That's the nature of the format. And we see, first of all, Leinier Dominguez. He played against Fabiano Caruana. And what can he say? He's trying to figure out what train ran over him as he ended up scoring just the 3 points and taking home the $10,000. No clutch money for him, but he will learn his lesson and come back in future events. Then we had Hikaru Nakamura. Many people would have booked him as the favorite, at least to make the finals and not win the whole thing, but he was not able to do so. He did win clutch game 6 and took home $2,000 for his efforts extra on top of the 10, so 12,000 in total. But those 2 now have left the building. Talk about people staying in the building. Fabulous Fabiano Caruana. It looks like he's trying to own the penthouse. 15-3 was his score against Leinier Dominguez, playing absolutely brilliant chess. Rock'em sock'em. Fabi just looks incredible right now. And not only that, he said, you know what? I'm taking all the clutch money as well, the whole $10,000, winning Game 12, of course, winning Game 6 as well, but then all the bonus money ended up rolling over in Game 12. He said, hey, that's it. I got it all for myself. So he's got 10 grand extra without even playing any more moves. So he's certainly quite happy. But somebody who wants to be more happy than he is, of course, is Wesley So, who did eke it out at the end after a bad first day, left a sour taste in his mouth, but then he came back in fine form, managed to draw that last game. That was very important to keep that edge, won by the slimmest of margins, but hey, they don't give the prize for second place. So he's happy to be on now. He will play against Fabi. It should be absolutely a great match. And he starts it off with white. So we'll see if he can throw the gauntlet down and try to take down this monster. We should point out, by the way, Fabi is number 2 in the world. So it's not going to be easy.
Not at all. And Jennifer, what are they playing for?
So much at stake, Yaz, here. We've got $70,000 up for grabs. And that includes, by the way, $30K for first place. You walk away with $20,000 for second, but then there's also the clutch money. Right. And the crazy thing is because of the earlier games yesterday, there's so much money at stake tomorrow in the final 2 clutch games, $7,000 per game. And that could be even more if today's clutch games are drawn. And what that means is that theoretically, Fabiano could lose the match and still walk away with a lot more money.
How ironic that would be. And now as the match is about to get underway, let's say it quickly. Who's your favorite in the competition, Jen? Who are you predicting will win?
I got to suffer from recency bias and go with Wesley So, because that was some vintage, what was it, 2016 Wesley So? I mean, just sparkling. It almost felt like he merged the best qualities of human with machine. Like he was just playing beautiful moves. And I also couldn't help but be influenced by the fact that he said he had 14 hours of sleep. I mean, the cognitive impact of all of that sleep, baby.
How does he do it?
How does he do it? Good rest, good rest. And Maurice, who's your pick to be the winner?
Well, Jen's going with combination man versus machine. I'm going with the Terminator. Fabiano Caruana. I mean, the way he played, he just looked like, he said, listen, I'll be back, and I'm taking absolutely no prisoners. Absolutely great play. Yes, he did have some difficult positions yesterday against Leinier, but I've seen this story before. A player who is in such great form, yeah, you're going to get bad positions. You can't get all great positions out of the opening, but you win the good ones, you win the even ones, and you win the bad ones as well. So I'm thinking Fabi should be able to pull this one off.
Wow, that means I get to play tiebreaker. This is pretty difficult, actually, because you're both making really compelling cases. But I'm going to have to come down with Jennifer as well. Recency bias.
The usual story, yes.
Well, 3 wins in a row, and what wins they were against Hikaru? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm predicting a very close match that's going to be decided in the 12th game. That's my prediction. But I think Wesley, if he keeps up the form he did yesterday, is what can you say? Unbeatable.
Well, yeah. If that's the big if. The problem is, guys, we don't have inside information. We don't know if Wesley got 14 hours of sleep last night.
Yeah.
If he did.
But guys, if you take Fabi from day 1 and Wesley from day 2, who do you pick? I mean,
Fabi.
That's a toss. I mean, that one's rough. I mean, Fabi played like a beast on day 1. Wesley on day 2 played that rook d7 sweet move against Naka. I went to bed thinking about that move. Like, wow, you played just like that and demolished Hikaru Nakamura. Yeah, it's a tough one. Definitely a pick 'em, but we'll see who comes in form.
One of the things definitely stands out in my mind. Again, Fab, not taking anything away from Fabi. He played just a terrific match. Leinier was in perpetual time trouble throughout all the match and most of the games. And what we saw conversely in the games between Naka and Wesley is Wesley was playing an amazing number of really good moves rather quickly, and time wasn't really a big issue in that match. And so, for Fabi, he was really getting a lot of points from the time. The time pressure was a huge factor.
Well,
Yeah,
good moves cause you to think, that.
That is true.
Somebody's dropping
is
moves
true.
on you and ideas. But it is true. The instincts have to be on. And it looks like away we go. These players are now going to play the finals. Two of them, let's hope they're in great form. And we see some epic games as games have begun. The game has begun.
Exactly. And we have a Rui Lopez with Bishop B5, A6, no more Berlin, at least not for this moment, and Bishop A4 on the board.
Right. So Fabiano said that against Leinier, he decided to start the Berlin because the sharper lines he played on day one, he was afraid that Dominguez would have all of Wednesday night to review them, Tuesday night rather, to review them, and he didn't want to get into that. But
exactly.
Now he's going back into those sharper lines, and it looks like we have a typical, what's the name of this opening again? It's not an anti-Berlin, an arc angle, right?
The arc angle Mueller variation, and the theoreticians are coming up with all kinds of ways of labeling. It's very tricky. I just like Archangel. That sounds
great
simple
title
and good.
Great name.
Yeah, exactly. And a Knight A3, and again, this is a very, very well-known variation. You'll have to go back to the World Championship match between Magnus Carlsen and Sergey. And Sergey nearly won a crucial game with White. Remember that that World Championship match and how close it was at the very end, Magnus pulling it out in the tiebreaker.
Yes, I played it in my hometown of New York City. Definitely was epic indeed. And we see here Fabi playing with castles, sacrificing the pawn on B5. That's the temporary measures. Black's not worried about that. He thinks that he'll be able to get easy play and compensation. Plus the D pawn at the moment is under heavy fire. So as you see there, as we saw, he capture with the G pawn, G takes F3 in the position, if you may show that. And then after Knight H5, we get the lockdown, trying to get that Knight to F4. And you don't want to get your king side locked down for too long with the queen showing up on that side. So he played F4, Knight F4, Bishop F4, and EF4 in the game. And that is the position we currently have as Queen G4, Knight E7 is played. And that B file will feature in quite nicely for Black as well, as he's got that pressure down that line. So at some point, you're going to see some kind of trickery on that diagonal as well.
It's like both players are just waiting for that side to be reconciled. In the meanwhile, on the king side, Wesley saying, hey, listen, I'd like to pick up that pawn for free if I could. Queen G4 takes F4. And maybe on a good day, I'll also get a chance to use the G file. I'll put my king in the corner, King H1, Rook G1, slide over, and maybe my bishop on C2 will show up. The nice part about White's center, especially the center pawns from B2 to C3 to D4, is that they're trying to keep that bishop on B6 out of the game. And we've just seen C5, by the way, to try to break that bishop out of its little cage that's hampering it over there.
Absolutely.
I love that move, because if we play D5, trying to resolve it that way, then it really gives you some nice squares to later seize on. So instead, after C5, we saw D takes C5, Bishop C5, and then that tempo gaining B4. But that bishop on B6 is a strong piece. That said, a lot of weaknesses in wine camps. B5, C5, I believe I'm hearing was a novelty by Fabiano, and he played it super fast. Who do you like here, Yaz? Knight G6, by the way, was just played. If Black can get those dark squares, it could be very nice for him. But is he going to be able to just post a knight up on F4, like Queen G3, Queen F6?
Right, and like you say, going for the dark squares. Both sides have their trumps. White has the light square, Black obviously doing well on the dark squares. I'm the pawn grubber in the family over here, guys. So I have to, put out my hand and say, okay, I'll take the white pieces simply because of the extra pawn.
Well, I'm not a pawn grubber, never have been. And I look at this position, it's so dynamic. Yes, you have a passed pawn on B4, but the pawn on C3 looks very vulnerable. The dark squares look super vulnerable as well. So to me, unless white's going to prove something with that wayward knight sitting on A3, I honestly don't see how you push this position very easily. Now, that last move, well, we're in this moment, you play Queen F6. He didn't play Queen F6 just yet.
Okay,
Queen
so
G3 is on the board.
Oh, I was thinking about Queen F6.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to note that from Black's standpoint, the organization of White's army is critical. Because if White can, let's say, play knight C4 and somehow sneak his knight, if your bishop leaves, to E3 and then to D5, now White has a lock on the position. Give me those 3 moves, and I'm feeling like, yeah, I'll move my king, do everything that we said, because you can't hit C3 properly.
D5
F4.
instead.
So instead, this move D5, what a contentious move, giving his opponent 2 connected pass pawns, but saying, I want to get as much space as possible, and I'm going to also pressure your pawn on C3. Now, this move is bold. This move is absolutely a bold one.
I like it, though, because
no
also
question about it.
Bishop C7 is another idea, another way to kind of try to capitalize on those dark squares, get knight F4 and queen H4 in, potentially, obviously, after you move your queen. I don't want to trade queens here that much as Black, because your king is the one that's weaker.
Look at this key moment, though, the idea of rook to D1. Rook to D1 after D5.
Rook A1, D1?
Yes, sorry. Rook A1, D1, arguing that, hey, what's the deal with your weak pawn that you just pushed? Are your plans for dark square domination going to be enough? As right now, that's the second pawn he's eyeing. sharp as you could get. Guys, this is the first game of the match. We're getting a delightful position right out the gate, yet again.
Absolutely.
Gotta love it.
Well, okay, so let's continue with bishop c7, I would imagine. I mean, after all, trying to conquer the f4 square is what it should all be about for Black. So how are we going to meet this move, bishop c7?
Can we play f4? I mean, I'm not. It looks very, very open and airy, but hey, got to try it.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Otherwise, I mean, allowing the if you move the queen and allowing the knight to rest on f4, that doesn't look very good. Okay, so something, I don't know.
Got to keep it going. Queen f6. No, f6. No.
Queen f6.
Queen f6. Keep hitting stuff. Absolutely. And then e5 and shift your queen over to c6, guard your pawn, keep the pressure on c3, and especially keep that darn knight out of the game. That knight cannot come back in the game in a good way. You've got to make sure that doesn't happen. Bishop takes H. That's a radical decision.
Well, I wanted to make, I wanted to vacate C2 so I could make room for the knight to quickly go to D4. I'm assuming HG. I don't know if I really like
HG
giving,
makes sense.
Yeah, giving a passer in the middle of the board.
And we do have this exact position on the
board.
No way. The players have caught up with us, right? Not before before the bishop takes on G6. Every single move played exactly to this point, and we have this variation on the board. These players are playing sterling chess at the moment.
I mean, they're playing the moves that we suggest, Maurice. I mean, wow, they're playing really well today.
Indeed. But I just want to make a point about this position. Look at White's pawn structure. It's all over the place. I mean, all the pawns are on dark squares, yes, but Black is looking to crack that structure at some point. The pawn on C3 is backward. White has those hanging pawns in the middle of the board, the isolated H pawn, the weaker king, but he's up a pawn. Again, I'm not a pawn grubber, so I look at this position, I think, Black, if he could just organize something, he could pinch at all these weaknesses somehow, but is it enough? And by the way, there's also a D4 break that Black could play just to try to crack the structure. So your move bishop takes on G6, Yaz, makes some sense as well. So some tactics, and whoa, Wesley played H4, ignoring Fabi completely, saying I'm going to go for my own bold play. Like, whoa.
Wow.
Also giving his king a square, as you're pointing out.
Uncompromising, yeah, very uncompromising move. H2, H4, eyeballing H5 and potentially utilizing the G file and giving King H2. My goodness, wow, that is really a double-edged move, I must say. I'm assuming he's got D4 all worked out in a nice way. You can't, well, actually, I suppose you could legitimately take on D4 with a pawn. I was thinking rook takes B4, but then I got
D5, and then tactics just flare up. White's king side looks like terrible, but
rook A8 was played instead.
Rook
A8 attacking the knight. That makes sense.
It's an important move and challenging that knight. We talked about it being on a bad square. Knight B1 looks miserable, but is it necessary?
Well, could we take on G6 and play Knight C2?
Well, the problem now is that the takes on G6, rook takes, leaves the bishop hanging. And unfortunately, the pawn on C3 drops. So we no longer have the time to take on G6.
And look at this, Knight B1 is 4. Knight B1, rook A2, rook D2.
Okay, not a happy sequence there for Wesley because
I'm not sure though. I'm not sure about what just happened. That's right.
Right.
Because bishop G6 is now a threat, and knight D4 rook takes D2. You get an intermezzo. Bishop takes on H7 check before taking back. So
that knight on B1 actually does a good job of protecting the rook on D2,
as well as the pawn on C3. Yeah,
that's crazy that knight just does such a good job here. I just feel like this position, I mean, I love attacking, don't get me wrong, but moving the G pawn and the F pawn with so many pieces left on the board, it feels like Fabi should have something strong here, doesn't it?
Well, the thing is,
not sure.
It might feel like it, but where is it? Like,
show me.
How do you actually pressure this position? You want to play something like F6, a pawn break. The actual acceleration of your pieces is a problem. The repositioning of your forces to great squares. Where do you put them? Like you look around, you say, okay, where does that knight on G6 want to go? Maybe it's happy where it is. Bishop to B6, you want to play?
Yeah, sure. I just want to know where your king's going to go. H2, I guess, or
H2.
It has to go to H2, right? Because if you go in the white square, I have D4 check, so you avoid that.
H2 is my choice for sure.
And Fabi has doubled on the A line. He's played rook to A8. I'm not sure where the F rook to A8. I'm not sure where that rook is going other than supporting his own piece. But
I think that's what it was all about.
That's what it's all about, just keeping the harmony and challenging white to come up with something, but daring white to play as you're showing as H5 and then what? Well, how do you break through?
Well, I think from Wesley's point of view, when he played the move H4, he was envisioning forcing the knight away, provoking a move like G6, and then he wants to utilize his bishop as well as his rook. Now, if he's going to allow this exchange sacrifice, that's the thing that I would be careful about. I think the exchange sacrifice might actually be very good for black, but I can understand that in Wesley's mind, if he can play rook G2, H5, get in the move F5, then it's all going swimmingly well.
Although the dark squares do collapse a little bit. If G6 goes on the board for what you're arguing there, you could go back to this moment in time when you played, you go forward. Nope. We are at rook F8. Yes, you have rook F8 down at the bottom of your screen. Here we go, H5. So knight after H5, knight E7.
Yep.
And your rook G2 could be met maybe by a queen H6 as well. I mean, that is a sharp, a direct way of defending without creating any weaknesses. And the question still comes about, how do you move this knight on B1? To me, when the stuff hits the fan, which it looks like it's doing right now, Black's pieces are all there in the game. They're all playing, right? Yes, it looks like a little pressure on White's part, but and a clear pressure on White's part, but all of Black's pieces are playing while White is down a knight for the moment. So Black just needs to find some sequence. And Wesley has played queen D3, further defending his bishop.
After rook A8.
Correct. Rook
Yeah,
A8. he
queen
plays-
d3, so h5 can always be met by knight f8, right?
Yes.
There's no immediate, maybe bishop b3 is a potential threat, you know, but it doesn't look like there's any immediate knockout blow threatened with queen d3.
Yeah, bishop b3
So,
is definitely a move that you're going to have to consider here because that does have some spice to it. And h5, I'll say h5, knight f8. Now black's knight is out of play. So maybe white can consolidate knowing that this one piece is gone, and he might go for the bishop b3 line, trade off some rooks, the knight leaps back to d2, and you're talking a different kind of chess.
What if I try queen c4 check? Queen c4 just move, not check. But bishop b6 check actually was played.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm anticipating king h2. Sorry, guys, I'm not getting an update on my board over here. I can't
That's
see
quite all right.
players.
We see everything, so you're up to date on your analysis, so everything's cool.
All right.
So king h2 is what we're anticipating. You don't really want to go to h1 where there's going to be a discovery of some kind.
No, I don't think so. So you're right. I think he hasn't played it quite yet, but king h2 we're expecting.
But and look
at this bang! As soon as king h2 was played, Fabi played d4, opening up the position against that king. This was exactly what I was worried about for Wesley. This looks so scary to me for white, but does Wesley have it all planned out?
But is it good? And we're being told that this
move
a bad move because it looks like c4 will eventually happen, and your d pawn will block your bishop. And he looks like he has played c4, and Fabi's bishop now is just blocked by his own pawn. c5 can come at any point. What is the positional benefit of d4? The game did not open along lines Fabi wanted to see, and instead it looks like the pawns are just going to be powerful.
No, c4 is just too good. This move is too strong. What do we do against that move?
Yeah, no, I think d4 was just a blunder. I mean, something like knight f8.
Bishop d8 he played, by the way. Maybe that was
king h2, d4, c4. Bishop david 8 is what he played.
Yeah, bishop d8, and then after queen takes d4.
He took on d4. Is there a reason why takes on h4 by anything? Yeah, bishop e4.
Bishop e4 looks
threat.
Big threat. And by the way,
wow,
that's not such an easy threat to sidestep.
Oh, this is crushing.
Why? What do you mean?
Because d8 may also be hanging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Queen takes d8.
You got to worry about
a
couple of issues. Although knight f8 is in the position. It means if you move, that means that rook is actually overworked. It's guarding the a2 rook. Well, he does have rook takes d2 check to get out of any discovery on his rook. That we can say. But now we're talking defensive mode for black. Black is down 2 pawns. White's pieces are definitely better. There is an issue with white's king, but it's not easy to exploit. And now he's hightailing it backwards with queen c7. This organization of his pieces does not look correct. And
whoa. Isn't that just like walking into knight c3 to d5 with the tempo?
Look, h5 play first.
Forcing the knight back. Knight c3 can come next. And
h5 first. Okay.
Yes, knight went back to f8. And now we expect a knight c3. And that knight that we said was out of the game for so long.
Yeah, it's
headed to d5.
It's a hero.
Oh, man.
Hero
this is
on
crushing.
d5.
This is completely crushing. Wesley coming where he came from yesterday, just coming right back and saying, yeah, where I left off. You see the spanking I put on that guy in the first 3 games yesterday? Let me do the same thing to you. Game 1, Wesley So.
All Wesley here. Knight c3 looks just fantastic. And the really nice part about this is it's all coming with tempo. I mean, knight c3 hits the rook on a2, knight d5 will hit the queen. Once we push the queen away, then we even start thinking about f4, f5, and our attack along the g file plays itself.
There's only one thing. There's only one thing to worry about, to watch, and it's the queen up here, and it has occurred. c5 was played instead of knight c3. He played c5, and then instantly queen e7. And talk about a drowning man clutching at straws. He just wants to get any counterplay he can by bringing the queen over to that side.
Absolutely.
It looks like a king. Maybe you could just retreat your king and bring your rook in the way. But it is getting a little bit tricky. And you see Wesley So there on the screen shaking his head. He's not sure that he has this under control.
Yeah, no, I'm perplexed by the move c5. The advance, push him can be played anytime. Get that knight on b1, which currently
with
is very passive in tempo. Yeah.
And now look at this. He's played bishop to e4.
That was the other thing I was going to say. How about bishop to e4, just to bring it over and potentially cover the king? If the king is forced to drop back on the g file, you'll have bishop g2.
But this position has changed. No, he played knight e6, queen d3, and rook takes d2. And man, those dark squares.
If we play knight takes d2, there's a little pesky queen h4, right? And then f4 could be in take. Are you compelled to take?
Queen h3 is ready, but I'd be more scared of. I'd be more scared of rook to a2 and asking you to defend everything about your position.
Okay, let's start with queen takes d2.
So you want to take queen instead, yeah.
And in case of queen h4 check, I'll drop my king back to g1.
I'm sorry, we can't. We got to follow this game because look what's going on.
What happened?
He decided to play knight takes. Sorry, he decided to take on h7 with check, and then play knight takes. Is that the sequence that happened?
Yeah.
No, sorry.
No, he took on d2, then rook
and after rook a2,
yeah,
he took the pawn on h7, and now king h8. Fabi's playing absolute sacrificial chess. He said, forget about the pawn on h7. I'm just going to go for it. You can have the gift. Bishop takes h7 check, king h8. 3 pawns up now.
Shoot.
3
Bishop
pawns
f5 has been played now. Don't worry. Yeah, we do have the live board on the left. So
okay.
We'll live.
Okay.
No, we can take a look at this. Bishop f5. And does black have enough compensation on these dark squares? So much going on right now as queen h4 check looks like a move worth looking at. Your
queen h4 because we no longer have that queen h3 resource, yes. I mean, Maurice, that you were talking about earlier.
Exactly,
now we have to play bishop h3.
How about king g2?
Yeah, king g2.
So queen h4, just play king g2.
Right.
And there's no knight f4 check because the d8 bishop will hang at the end with mate after rook takes f4. So that's
that's
a definite problem. You can't do that line. So Fabi is trying to figure out what to do now. By the way, they've been playing so well.
Did he play king g2 or king g1? It wasn't
sure. Queen h4 check is not yet on the board.
So queen h4, king g2,
or king g1.
If we play queen f4 right away, does that do anything?
Ooh, that's an interesting line. And it looks like Fabi has instead simply played the quiet bishop to e6. Oh, he did play queen h4 check, king g1, and now bishop to e7. I mean, it doesn't even look like a threat is in the position, although maybe knight takes c5 might be a move you think about here, followed by bishop takes on c5. There's this crisscross action that black has with that rook on the 7th and the queen unable to depart because of the knight on d2. Talk about a complex position.
It's not clear to me exactly. When I'm under attack, I see my opponent's got all of these pieces hovering around my king. I'm looking to trade off the attackers.
That's what happened. Bishop takes on e6, fe6, rook f2, and now queen to g4 with check. Look out for a queen d1 action. Rook g2, there is the possibility of, also there's a rook a1 and the pawn on f4 is hanging.
That's what I don't like, was leaving my pawn hanging there.
And I just heard thunder and lightning outside my window. That's what's happening on the board right now.
It's
incredible play.
Well, let's catch up with the players as the current position we have on the board is with bishop h4 having just been played by Fabi.
Check, king h2 and bishop h4. And I don't like this for white. There's so much action in this position. He played rook g2, did white, and queen takes f4 check, give me 1 pawn back, king h3, rook a1, and it is black attacking despite being 2 pawns down. This looks terrifying.
It sure does.
Knight f3 looks forced.
Knight f3 looks absolutely forced. There's a mating attack coming, and he's up those 2 pawns. He's got no perpet. There's no queen d8. but knight f3 looks like it should shore up the position.
Well, I have
knight
to.
f3, so that after rook h1 check, you can now. Which piece were you going to put on h2?
You got to play knight h2 because rook h2 is mate. Rook h2 is just queen g3 mate. Game over.
So you have to play knight h2.
So you have to play this grovel. That poor knight.
Yeah, I know. From b1 to h2.
Hey,
it's been dancing, went from a3, b1.
You're like, we're going to move you out into a nicer home, right?
Don't be hating the knight. It's a good defender. We got a nicer room
for you.
And Wesley is shaking his head again. You know he didn't want to see this position when he was up, that material, dominating position. You mentioned, yes, knight c3 should have been played. Now this knight is sitting on just a woeful square. The king, some kind of bishop move, f2, e1, threaten a queen h4 mate. But the problem is the bishop is guarding d8, and you will give him the chance to play some kind of perpetual action with queen back, queen down and back and all that. So I don't think
Speaking
he wants...
of perpetual, we have seen a repetition of position at least once. Rook e1, compelling, threatening rook e3.
He played rook e1, yes. He played rook e1.
Rook e1.
Yeah, my screen is frozen, guys, so I can't see.
Oh, well,
don't worry about it. We got the updated board. We got the updated board. The live board is...
But basically what happened was rook e1 was played, and then knight g4, then Fabi went back to h1 with check, and then knight h2. So the position has already been repeated. And now with rook e1, it looks like Fabiano is saying knight g4, and he's happy to take a draw in this position. He didn't see a way to increase those three pieces that are, and there it is. It is a repetition of position. What a fight, guys. If this is what this match is going to be like, we are in for a treat.
Let me tell you, that's game one of the match. Man, I love this opening Fabi's playing. He's just freestyling, freewheeling, and okay, I got a worse position, but let's go. Show me what you got. This is rapid chess. The seconds are ticking down. What a game. This is the kind of draws that you could say, okay, we'll take that. Amazing stuff.
Let's do this every game. No Berlin. Come on, Fab.
Yeah.
But seriously, we're going to be right back for the second game in this match. Or is it already underway? It's going to be underway in a few minutes. Yeah. Okay. We're getting ready to start that game
just yet.
A few seconds potentially.
Yes, when you look at this kind of chess, I mean, what can you say? It looked like you said, you grab some material, you consolidate, you should be able to take it home, but you make one misstep, and these guys find counterplay out of thin air.
True, but I'm still reeling from the decision, I think it was at move 33 by Wesley to play the move c4, c5. When I'm looking at this position, I'm saying to myself, knight c3 is an absolute screamer. How can you not play knight c3? I mean, every fiber of your being should be to bring your pieces, centralize your pieces, get them active. And he left it at home. He just said, I'm not going to, wow.
Why put your knight on d5 when you could have it on h2 yet?
Right. What?
That said, it was a really well-played game overall. Some hiccups there at the end. But overall, if we're in store for games like that, we're going to be in for a lot of fun. But let's take a look at some clutch moments from the past as we're ready to get set up for game two.
In the last round of the inaugural Sinkfield Cup in 2013, soon-to-be world champion Magnus Carlsen declined a draw offer that would have won him the tournament. The rest is history.
That these guys might be getting fatigued, and that was where, in a lot of their interviews, they spoke about their stamina and the need.
And it looks like there might have been a verbal offer of a draw in this position, and Magnus now twirling a pawn. Levon offered a draw.
And Magnus is thinking about playing for a win?
Magnus thinking.
Fascinating to see if he makes a move with the fact that his 70,000 has literally been handed to him. It's more than just, and he has made a move. Incredibly, he's declined the draw offer and decided to continue. With 70 grand in his pocket, he can win no more. There's nothing beneficial to him to making another move, absolutely nothing. And he has actually decided to continue playing and allowed other results to enter. And the knight on A1 is trapped incredible lines, but it looks as though if Magnus now plays this move, knight to c4, after king d8, he will be winning, at least have a big advantage.
And we have it.
And there it is. Magnus Carlsen is the Sinkfield Cup winner, the champion. He's creeping closer to 2,900. We have a comment on Twitter that Magnus Carlsen turned Lev's draw offer down. That's by Michael Waters, because he previously said he wanted to be world champion and 2,900 by the end of 2013. And he gets one step closer with this victory at the Sinkfield Cup, leaving him far ahead of his rivals and securing the $70,000, the trophy, and more importantly, I mean, making a fabulous impression to fans all over the world. Quite a trip down memory lane there to the very first Sinkfield Cup. Wow, we have here two Sinkfield Cup champions fighting in this innovative new format, and what a game one. Thrilling double king pawn. You know, when they play double king pawn like that, it makes me want to throw out the Sicilian and start playing e5.
Oh, man, that is absolutely tremendous. That game was fantastic. Like I said, I'm hearing thunder and lightning outside, and I'm seeing it on the board. Yeah, so your screen is freezing up from all the action.
Totally.
Is it still frozen?
Oh,
is it still frozen? Still frozen. All right,
still frozen.
We got to get you being able to see. Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope we can get the technical issue out the way as we got the specialist who can control your screen from afar. But at the moment, it's half in the match. And what an just absolutely beautiful game we were treated to in game one. Two superstars of chess showing their best stuff.
With such nice positional lessons. That's what I love about watching the best players in the world play rapid. They're so good that when they play classical chess, some of the positional lessons are embedded in the moves and you might not see them. But when they play rapid, they do make mistakes. They're human. And then you get to see this idea of making your worst piece better. Knight to c3 to d5 came so quickly to Yasser Seirawan, who was, of course, always known for his great strategic genius when he was in the top 10 players in the world, yes.
Well, that was tough. I mean, for me, I think of the positional instincts of the players as second nature. I mean, they just play those moves. What is amazing for me is their tactical awareness and their ability to analyze these tactical variations so quickly. Like, well, how can I say it? Human calculators. And they're underway in game two in a Berlin.
You can see the game
ending. No, I can just, I have it on my board. That's the only thing I can see. I can't see the players. I can't see the live position. I can't see yourselves. That's all frozen.
That's why we have
frozen.
There is a minus to not having our crack staff in front of us. I don't know if Jen Humor is watching, but we miss you, Jen. Definitely love when there's something wrong and she comes in and says, "All right, I'll fix it. It's all fixed now. Relax."
But it got refreshed. Now I can see you guys.
Refreshed. Now you're back in business.
Hi.
All right, here we go. Well, we're seeing
Fabi.
this Berlin from Fabi.
Right.
Well, at least Wesley chose to go into this line. This is not the sharpest of positions. This is definitely some positional chess you check out when you see this kind of game.
Now, in the match between Leinier and Fabi was getting under pressure in this ending. And so now he's getting to play it on the white side and seeing if he can pressure Wesley So. We've just seen the move h7, h5, which is very, very common in this Berlin as Black tries to play the move h5, h4, locking down the majority that White enjoys on the king side.
Yes, we usually kind of groan when we see the Berlin show up because Black tends to be able to play solidly and stop White from getting away with anything expansive. But Dominguez showed some nice ideas against Fabi that makes you excited. You say, wait a minute, I think I could play White against the Berlin if Black's going to handle it that way.
Actually, my personal opinion is for amateurs that playing the white side of the Berlin's a great idea. Because I think that it's more of an opening that requires a grandmaster or very strong master hand as black. White plans seem like easier to come by. So if you were not a professional player and your opponent tries the Berlin against you, I mean, what's not to like about the position at first glance? It takes such deep understanding, as Kramnik proved against Gary Kasparov, to really appreciate how supple and how many possibilities Black's position has later on.
What's funny about the line is the bad rep that the Berlin had for so many decades, literally decades. And then you talked about Kramnik rehabilitating the line in his World Championship match against Kasparov in 2000. Right. And that match took Gary's title from him.
Yes.
He couldn't pierce the darn thing. It's like, how dare you play this inferior opening against me? And he couldn't do a thing with it. And I remember Alejandro saying to me, Alejandro Ramirez, grandmaster, of course, one of our key colleagues here, he said, remember Yaz, he said, the Berlin is the main line to me in the Real Lopez. What do you mean it's the main line? The Berlin is a sideline in the Royal Lopez for so many years. The main line's a Morphy defense, or the Chigorin, the Russians might call it, but it has become the line that the top players in the last 15, 20 years play all the time.
No question about it. And I remember back in the U.S. Open in 1975 in Lincoln, Nebraska, and there was our own Arthur Bisguier. Arthur Bisguier had played the Berlin ending his entire life. And we got, we played a lot of blitz together, Arthur and I, even though I was only 15 at the time. He really liked to play blitz. And he said, Yasser, you should learn to play the Berlin defense. It's great. You get the two bishops. You love the two bishops. And I was like, no. No. And later in 1980-81 in the World Championship match between Viktor Korchnoi and Anatoly Karpov, Viktor Korchnoi prepared a Berlin and he played the Berlin, but he didn't play the Berlin ending. He recaptured with the B pawn and put his knight back on B7, got killed. And Berlin was out the door.
Went to sleep for 29 years.
You're done. You're gone. Goodbye.
At least in the World Championship level, nobody wants to touch that position. What we see here, this end game, by the way, for those who are looking and saying, why doesn't Black just castle? Well, that's not possible. No. Move 8, cleaned all that up after queen takes D8, check, and the king took back. There's no castling for you. And this is where we get this ending. And that's one of the things that people may have been concerned about, that poor king sitting in the middle of the board, not able to castle while White is able to organize his pieces very rapidly. However, it's that bishop, key bishop, the one now sitting on F5 by Black, stops easy penetration, as does the bishop on E7. So it's not easy for White to get the incursion into the position as one would suspect.
Exactly.
And that's what's giving Black these good positions, very solid. And sometimes Black plays this thing in his sleep, just very easily and quickly. And as you see here, he's already up 2 minutes on the clock almost against Caruana, only using a minute as Wesley So, at least a minute of his original time. They do get a 5-second increment to get to this position.
And that's maybe one of the reasons it's a wise opening to play in rapid. Black being well prepared, just able to blitz out all these moves. Yeah, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that Varuzhin Akobian told me that H5 is actually a sideline, very rarely played. It has been played. It's not a novelty. But it seems to me that Wesley's preparation, he's out-prepared Fabi, as you can see from the clocks, and also from the fact that Wesley's looking very comfortable with this move Bishop F5 and just saying to Fabi, okay, why did you put your knight on E4? Oh, so you could play this move Bishop G5.
By the way, it's interesting that you mentioned Wesley's face and seeing him on camera. I read an interview with Nakamura where he said that a lot of times people give up their poker faces when they're playing in these new online prestigious tournaments because they forget that the other player can see them. So watch out for that when you see a player make a mistake and indicate it on their face. That's just as dangerous as it would be in an over-the-board game. Because in most setups, they can also see their opponent's camera.
Well, let's wonder, because this is the position where Gary Kasparov, this is the situation where Gary had this monster move E6 when he got a chance to beat down Kramnik after losing his title. I think you mentioned it was Novgorod.
Novgorod, yeah.
In this event. And this move E6 has become a thematic move for White in this line. And if White can successfully engineer E6, he could put a whole lot of hurt on the black position. At the moment, E6 looks tempting.
Well, I think the whole plan behind E6 has to rest on how are you going to meet F6? Where is this knight going to go? Are you going to sacrifice the knight for a number of pawns, or are you going to try to drop the knight back to E4 and offering the pawn this way? I think that's the question that Fabi has to ask himself. You play E6 and you're proud, but then after the move F6, a big question to be answered. Do you play knight F7? Or do you play knight E4? Or
he just completely avoided it and decided instead to go for G4.
Whoa.
Allowing
HG,
HG, and there's a pawn hanging on H3. What's the deal? Takes.
What are we missing?
Oh, is E6 looks like F6 again? Can you?
That might be it. Now you play E6. Then after F6, you take Rook D7.
Wow.
Is that his great plan?
Some funky sacrifices here, and it has occurred. Bishop H3 is on the board. Knight takes on H3. We're expecting Rook H3.
Oh, pardon me. He didn't play E6.
Oh, he did not play
H3.
E6. My apologies. He took on H3 immediately, which we expect must be Rook H3 now.
Forced.
Is he going to play King G2 or is he going to go for E6?
I think you got to play E6. King G2.
We do have Rook H3 and E6, guys.
Yes. I was about to see.
So Fabi's down a pawn. That's clear. But he's got this position with the pawn on E6, and he's gone for the water. Whatever it is he's got in there looks like just water in that big old bottle of his. And he's saying, I'm blasting through with this move. I don't think, well, you definitely can't take this pawn on E6. So you just go home. If
then
you do
Rook
that.
E6, and if you play King F7, we have Knight G5 check. Your king marches back, and we have our choice of pieces to take. I'll take the Rook.
Yes, that would be a nasty fork there. Knight G5 with pieces hanging.
The question I think we have to ask is, what do we do if we take the pawn?
King F2?
The king goes King F2 because you've got to defend the knight, and then I'll just chill and say, okay, I am 2 pawns up.
Game position. That's what happened, and it's got to be Rook D7. Because what else are you going to do?
David 7. Okay. Makes sense.
White has lost. White is now in the game position, down 2 pawns.
2 pawns. That's what I'm thinking.
With the much more active pieces and threatening everywhere, if he plays a Rook to D7, he'll be hitting he'll be hitting everybody on the 7th. And he has played and he has played the move. Rook to D7 on the board.
I'm thinking Rook F4 to defend F7. You can't take with the pawn because that would hang the rook. Oops, don't want to do that. And if you take with the rook, I'm just trading. So I'm thinking C7. Rook F4. And if you go Rook C7, now I'm thinking, oh, Knight F4. You got to get Rook F7 sighting. Okay, this is how you...
oh, that's annoying. That's
no, but that's nothing for White. That's
nothing. But no, that's how you save the game. I'm thinking you're 2 pawns down.
Rook takes F3. You have Rook takes F3 at the end.
You're thinking White's worse because of the 2 pawns. I'm thinking White is trying to prove something with his Rook on the 7th rank. I mean,
I think
why should I worry about pawns when I'm so active?
So you're saying that after Knight H4, Rook F7, you play Rook takes F3 check. You can't play Rook takes F7 because then Pawn F7, King F7, you lose the knight. Right.
But Knight H4 can always be answered by King G3. There's not a loss of a piece. Right? Knight H4 can always be answered by King G3.
So rook takes C7, Knight H4 can always be answered by King G3.
Sure.
It's not a loss of a piece.
Not a loss of anything, and I still have the 7th. And I feel like I'm threatening your position.
With your king on H4, you feel like you're threatening.
Well, you're not castling or mating me. I'm going to play King G4. I'm going to take on F7. You're going to have to put your king on F8. That pawn is going to stay there. You're going to trade this pawn. I mean, this may be a draw, but how can I possibly be worse when you're down a rook in the attack? It's just white here.
Okay. Wow. I mean, all my life, all I wanted to do was win pawns, and now I'm all these pawns up, and you're saying it's not winning for black.
Well, you're only one in this position, and you're not.
Oh, that's true. I wanted by two.
You're not two anymore.
Exactly. Well, okay. I thought the king was a bit stranded over here. I guess it's okay for white. What can I say? So what is the current position? We have rook
the rook
D7.
is on D7. There has been no rook F4, and Wesley, who had been keeping a nice pace this entire game, has gone into a deep think in this precise position, trying to figure out exactly how to liquidate. Well, it looks like he's played a couple of moves, but it looks like there's a problem.
He played rook C8,
and you see the bar just went nuts. Rook F7. And he
played Knight F8.
How good is this?
That is bizarre to me. My way of thinking is because that king is really in deep water after. And
by the way, you're pointing out a great move, Yaz. As you pointed out,
Rook H1.
We're being told well. You did spot the winning move. There is Rook H1, and it's resigns. Rook H1 would win the game because Knight E6, kicking the legs out from under the rook, can be met by Knight E5, and Rook H1 has been played. Fabi also spotted this move, and the game is over. This is crushing.
Oh, terrible blunder.
So he thought Knight E6, as Maurice mentioned, he thought Knight E6, but forgot about Knight E5. Wow.
Yeah.
Knight E5, renewing the threats, protecting that key rook. Wow, this is a great mating pattern.
And threatening mate in 1.
That's right. Rook F4 check doesn't help you because we just trade those babies off and pick off your rook on C8. This is what I was talking about, guys. That rook on the back rank, it wasn't active, and this was a big problem to think about. I didn't expect to win a rook, but I mean, the activity of the white pieces meant that black had to be a bit more careful, and rook C8, ultra passive move, was not the solution he should have played. Rook F4 was definitely much better.
It looks like a huge blunder, and opportunity knocks, and Fabi capitalized with this fabulous move, Rook H1.
And Fabi has gotten up, which means resignation has occurred. I see half as a result here. That must be the score in the match itself.
That was from the last one.
Because now Fabi has 1-0.
Wow.
How sweet it was. And here's Wesley trying to figure out what he did wrong. As you see him here on camera saying, what did I do? He's going to notice that move, Rook C8, was a howler.
The culprit, yeah.
Who would have thought that this game would end in 25 moves?
So the Berlin's not so dry all the time, right? Let's take a look at our current score, guys, as now Fabiano has 1.5 points to Wesley So's 0.5 point after 2 very combative games, both in the Roy Lopez. Very different games indeed, but are we going to see a Roy Lopez thematic, or do you think somebody's going to switch it up at some point? At some point they will, but do you think it's going to happen soon, like in game 3 or 4? Well, we'll find out soon, as we are going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back for game 3 of day 1 of the finals.
Since 2009, our mission has always been to teach and promote the value chess brings to our community. In these times of social distancing, it's more important than ever that we stay connected to carry on that mission.
We are currently offering 24 weekly classes online through our YouTube and Twitch channels. We're also holding tournaments and private lessons online.
From the comfort of their own home, students can enjoy all the benefits of our Scholastic Chess Initiative digitally. Our Scholastic outreach continues with virtual chess classrooms, Scholastic tournaments, and Scouts BSA merit badge workshops.
On behalf of everyone at the St. Louis Chess Club, we hope you and your loved ones stay safe and continue to watch, play, and enjoy the game of chess.
Be surprised, be intrigued, be delighted. The World Chess Hall of Fame in St. Louis is nothing you'd expect and everything you love. 3 galleries highlight the history, culture, and creativity behind the game. Explore chess in ways you never imagined. It's a one-of-a-kind cultural institution where rare artifacts and world-class art play together. The World Chess Hall of Fame. Mind, art, experience.
St. Louis University is celebrating its 200th anniversary. Offering world-class education in the heart of St. Louis, SLU attracts students and professors from around the globe. In 2015, SLU partnered with the St. Louis Chess Club to start a top-tiered collegiate chess team. On the very first year of the team's inception, SLU obtained second best university at the Pan American Intercollegiate Chess Championships. Higher purpose, greater good. St. Louis University.
Yep.
And we are back with the Clutch Chess Finals. We are heading into game 3 of 6 today. But let's review the schedule for those of you who are just joining us. We are in game 3, as I mentioned. So we've got game 3 and game 4. Then we move to our clutch games, which are going to be worth double points. And finally, tomorrow, we're going to do it all again, except tomorrow, the clutch games are going to be worth even more. So you're not going to want to miss any more of the action.
Exactly. And this is where we stand after that howler by Wesley.
Well, it's 1.5 points for Fabiano and just a half for Wesley. With so many points left up for grabs today. And here we're going to see Wesley now getting a crack with the white pieces. So, I mean, sorry, Fabi. It's Fabi who's white again, right?
No. Wesley is white.
Wesley's white. Yeah, I thought so. I thought I was misreading the board. No, they haven't started the game yet. That's why. Okay. So Wesley and Fabi are about to start any minute, and Wesley will have the white pieces.
And I'm sure Wesley still is smarting from that first game as well.
Right.
That was the second time he found himself up 3 pawns and didn't win the game. Right?
It's really been a shocking,
in this event, because against Naka, it was like that. And I'm sure he was up 3 pawns at some point in this last game, right?
It was 2, and then the H pawn as well.
H5, yeah. So he was up 3 pawns. It's the second time in this event where he was up 3 pawns and failed to win, drawing both times, once in that game 5 against Naka and again drawing in game 1 here against Fabi. So Wesley shaking his head like, I'm 3 points up. I'm supposed to win these games.
Exactly.
And he manages to barely hang on for a draw in this last one. So he
really underestimated the counterplay of Fabi with that Queen H4 check. So will he repeat the opening experiment?
Why not?
I think that why not? And will Fabi say, hey, wait a minute, that Archangel variation really didn't go very well in that move F4 that Wesley quickly played in the opening, showed that Wesley was prepared for Fabi's Archangel business. We'll see.
Maybe Fabi will play the Vernon.
There you go.
After just pasting it in 23 moves?
Yeah. Show him.
After by the way,
statement.
After getting mauled or at least coming under heavy pressure against Dominguez yesterday and now crushing it, that Berlin is not looking so solid all of a sudden, at least not in rapid.
A little shaky, to be sure.
Little wobbly.
And there you go. Oh,
there.
by the way, D4. Wesley says, look, I'm ambidextrous. I can mix it up. I can play E4 or 1D4. And look at this. Embracing the Benoni is Fabi. He's one of the very rare elite grandmasters in the world prepared to play the Benoni defense. And he's done it.
And most people would just say, bad. Like,
bad.
What are you doing? Going for this structure that white has so many ways to try to make you suffer. But Fabi has shown that he doesn't mind. He'll play all kinds of different lines. It looks like they've gone into a main line variation.
Right.
Main line, I say, for us, Yaz.
Right.
Nowadays, they might disagree what the main line is. But this one is the classical one, the old school one that was tried and true and supposed to give white something. But black has his counterplay.
Just to remind the old timers that might be out there with us, Rookie 8, Knight D2, A6. This is the Boris Spassky, Bobby Fischer variation. You may remember it for the T-shirts they make these days. Knight H5. Bobby Fischer in game 3, needing a win, played this very unorthodox Knight H5. It worked like a charm, and that was all she wrote. That's the history. So let's see what the current setup is. By the way, it looks like Rookie 8 was played.
Yes, we got all these moves in the Knight, and then the retreat, Knight D7. You can keep going, and
Queen C2. Look at this. They're playing all the moves, and not Knight H5, but Knight E5. By Fabi, inviting the move F2, F4. I don't know what the theoretical.
It's a risky move for sure. Knight G4 could be played, and
because Knight G4, by the way, just to make sure everybody understands, don't want to see the knight landing on my front doorstep, Knight E3, which is why I played the move Knight here. Can we?
Their tactics here, yes. Their tactics with a Knight E4. Tactic in this position, and if you take back, you got to deal with some Bishop
D4
check action, and
yeah, I get it. I get it. That's what
yum. Here, black comes in this position. You don't want to go there. So Wesley decided to go super positional with the move A5, quite thematic here.
And
A5
Rook B8 quickly played.
And Rook B8 instantly. So black is going for everything he can. B5 will be played, not B6, but B5, so they can keep pressuring white from the wings, looking for the move B4 eventually as he moves forward. And Wesley now.
And I remember the great Hungarian player Lajos Portis. He loved to play this variation as white. And after, for example, a move like Rook A3, you often saw Lajos playing the move Knight C3 to D1. What was his idea? Sometimes black plays G5 to secure the E5 square for his knight, and the rook can swing across. And if the rook isn't swinging across, the other idea is to put the knight on the C4 square. So a game that's very rich in strategy. Oh, B2, B3.
B3, and now
That's
bishop
a rare
D4.
bird.
If I get to play bishop D4 and trade off the light square bishops, I'm very happy as black because usually
not
there's
gonna let you do it.
You're not, you're so averse to that idea of trading the light squared bishops that you're not even letting me entertain the possibility.
Not even close.
The reason why I'd really like to do that, is if you'll notice in the Benoni, a lot of times my feet are tripping over each other. I meant to say my pieces are tripping over each other.
Your minor pieces.
Exactly. So getting rid of that light squared bishop is beautiful. But look at this. Actually, Wesley did allow it. I thought he was going to play F3.
Right.
Didn't you think so? Yes, you were going to say
F3.
That's
100%. I didn't even consider any other move beside F2, F3 for exactly the reason that you were stating, which is that the trade of minor pieces is usually a strategy that black embraces. It's not the major pieces in the problem that's the problem of the Benoni, it's the minor pieces. And he played a very intriguing move, a knight back to from E5, knight drop back to D7. I wouldn't have guessed that's the first move that you would consider as black, but that was what Fabi did. Now,
and I'll say, I picked up the Benoni for a very short period of time in my career before I got some common sense knocked into me. And one of the things you mentioned is this business of trading off the light square bishop is something that black generally wants to have, but he also recognizes that the pawn formation is worse for him. The pawn structure is worse. White does have that great space. That pawn on D5 is really a bone in the throat, but black can generate counterplay. And if you don't play correctly, black will get some ideas that will combine some kind of F5, knight H5, F5 push, a potential B7, B5 at the right moment, and try to get play. The problem with the position is players like Yasser Seirawan, who are so happy to sit there and make you suffer. Grab the space and say, you're not doing anything for a while. I'm just going to let you sit there and wonder what to do. None of your breaks will work. And then I'm going to come after you with some well-timed F4, E5 idea. So this is the challenge. Can Fabi time it out correctly? And now, as we're looking at this position, there is the C4 square that black has conceded to white in this position.
Early,
And that's something that white is saying, yeah, I'm happy about that. Sooner or later, I'm going to take advantage of my trumps. And white's pawn formation, but for that B pawn, is beautiful. Black has the weak A6 pawn, the weak D6 pawn. Those two things will be buttons in the long run, so the end games are favoring white. I got to say, Fabi's playing very risky chess for sure in these games with the black pieces.
Absolutely, no question. It almost feels like he's embracing double-edged positions where he's a bit on the precipice. He's willing to take an awful amount of risk, I want to say, as black. Now, here, the problem with the desirable knight C4 is it hangs the pawn on B3. I would love it if I could play a move like Queen C4, for example. I would love it if I could get my opponent to passively move the rook. The problem with a move like Queen C4.
Whoa.
Knight takes C4.
Sorry,
just play it on the board.
Sorry, but I was about to interrupt. Rook
I was about to.
I
was about to say, the problem with Queen C4 is it blunders my bishop on B2 because of knight takes E4, and my minor pieces are hanging. So we've got a blunder alert here because Wesley did the same thing in a different setting. He played rook A3, knight takes E4, and Wesley is sitting there go, uh-oh, if I go knight takes E4, bishop takes B2, and that's a huge pawn.
After the queen captures the bishop, you're in trouble. And if you take on G7, then he just takes on D2, as has occurred in the game. And you do keep your bishop if you're white, but it's not going to do any good for you because there's no way to get that battery on that long diagonal that you want to be able to mate black. Black's not worried about this position, as he can always stop any energy along that diagonal this is just a pawn he dropped. And this is the kind of tactical possibilities that the Benoni is known for. This is definitely sort of a hustle variation. I got to admit, you play it because you say it's dynamic, and you may be worse positionally, but you channel your inner Tal and say, I'm playing something sharp. You watch out. And if you look at some of the Benoni games that Tal played back in the day, now those were games that inspired us to play the Benoni. And at the moment, Fabi with a dominating, beautiful position on the board, up a pawn, clean. He's got open files for his rooks. He's got a target on B3, and Wesley is in trouble, hoping against hope that he can save this game.
Well, he has to try to start by winning the A-pawn.
Right.
Yeah,
he just played.
And it's such an iconic idea, right? In the Benoni or Sicilian Dragons,
sure.
It's like knight takes e4, uncovering the bishop. It shows you to be constantly vigilant. Just knowing that a pattern's there is not enough. But Wesley will try his best to get play. Look at this move, knight g3, looking at playing knight to f5 check, pawn takes f5, queen g5 check, getting in there with the queen and creating high chances of perpetuals. So
and I'm going to say, tactically alert, or if you're going to give the tactic prize so far, it's got to be Fabi. Every single game.
Sure.
Every single game. Game one, we saw it with a dead position, just somehow with a flurry of crazy ideas, getting himself back in the game. Game two, we saw Wesley blunder, not alert with rook to c8. And now again, Wesley not alert with rook to a3, and Fabi punishing any single mistake that's played.
Yeah, he's really taking advantage of his opportunities, to be sure. I'm anticipating Fabi playing the move rook e5. As you were mentioning, Jennifer, knight f5 check is an annoying threat because of the follow-up queen g5. So rook e5 would both simultaneously protect, cover the f5 square, as well as reinforce the attack with rook e5.
That's on the board. He has done it. When we see rook a6, queen b3, and now the d pawn is hanging anyway, so rook takes d6. It looks like you should be able to take on d5 in this position, yes? Rook d6.
Right. Don't think you have a back rank. Yeah, exactly. There's not a back rank mate because of knight f1. Now the move queen takes b3 was a big surprise for me. I thought Fabi was just dropping back with his queen, ready to lunge on d5 as well as b3. So this move, queen takes b3, allowing rook takes d4, that caught me a little bit off guard.
And it has occurred. Yes. Rook takes d6, knight takes on d5, and hold the phone because this knight on d5 is now in a precarious position, only defended by the rook and the queen. And f4, f4 would have won the knight. We're being told blunder alert, and f4 would have won a piece.
Oh
and Wesley not alert again, missing a devastating shot. f4, chasing the rook. The rook has no way to defend the knight. He would have won a piece with this move. Instead, he opted for h4. What a miss by both players in this critical moment.
Wow. I mean, we were lauding Fabiano a moment ago for his tactical alertness, and both players were blinded by that opportunity. F4 was a screamer.
And now after queen b2, isn't this
opportunity missed?
Queen b2 looks like a very good move. That is what Fabi played, and now trying to remove any kind of ideas of h5 and h6. You're attacking my rook on a1. Forcing the trade of queens, right?
We would argue, by the way, it's interesting to think about that blunder that occurred in the game, because if you know you blundered, your brain is in a totally different place.
Right.
If you know you missed the win, oh man, you're kicking yourself.
Right.
But these two haven't had the time to wonder, did something happen? I mean, we're getting all excited, but did something happen? So they're still in the flow of this position, and Fabi's thinking, yeah, maybe I should have gotten more, but I'm up a pawn. I've got winning chances. Wesley's thinking, I got to fight for my life after what happened in this darn game, blundering that knight takes e4 shot. So to them, all the craziness because of that mistake, just simply not a part of the psychology of the position.
Yeah,
Not clear. I saw Wesley maybe flinch afterward. He played h4. Maybe we'll find out later in the interviews. But it seemed like, although there's going to be so many exciting moments, one might not rank in the top 5 by the end of the day. But I did see some strange mannerisms from him after that move. But we do have rook to d1, queen takes d2, rook takes d2. And this endgame, does Wesley have good chances to save, or do you think Fabi's got this?
No, I wouldn't say got it. I'd say that Fabi has good chances of winning, better chances of winning than Wesley saving. I remember the Grand Chess Tour in Zagreb, the tournament where Wesley So and Sergei Karyakin, both players had missed, like rook takes f5, and it was and a win in one move. It was just one move, and both players are just unaware of it. And Maurice, I think. Sergey came after the game and you interviewed him and you said, "Oh, you could have won." And he goes, "Really?" And you showed him the position and he instantly saw it. Right.
So it wasn't, you can blame blitz, rapid, they're going quickly, but you just brought out a very important moment, and there are many of those. Players sometimes miss moves, no matter how fast or slowly they're playing. They just don't notice the idea, just doesn't occur to them. Although I would say the rook f5, it looked fairly obvious to us. F4 here does look like a pretty obvious move to chase the rook away. It does expose the king, so you might not feel great about doing it. When you look around, there's no alternative tactics. It's just like F4. What do you do? There's no threat somewhere that black could generate something you might be scared of. So that would have been a killer. Anyway, right now it is white who is trying to figure out how to control in this position, and he's played his pawn to h5. That sacrifice is not one that white wants.
You're threatening, but we're threatening h6. That
black wants, I mean.
I was thinking that the h pawn was a promising target. Rook b4 looked like an intriguing idea. He played rook c8 and then came h5, and now he's not missing h5, h6, Jen.
No.
That's not going to happen.
No. Not a chance. The players are not going to miss this
that one is a little bit more iconic than pawn to f4, right?
Exactly. So now after, the question is, this rook ending, I'm 2 pawns up, but this structure on the queen side looks terrible. And I feel that white's chances are actually, strangely enough, improved.
Oh, yes.
That he has better chances of drawing this 2 pawns down than being 1 pawn down with the knight still on the board.
This has occurred, Yaz.
That is.
Has it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, and Wesley fighting back heroically here. Yes, he had a win, but he was also busted at one point. So if he can make this draw, he'll breathe a sigh of relief and say, you know what? I missed a shot. I blundered. Okay, he blundered too. Thank goodness I got out of there without losing the game. So he will try against all odds. No, I think this is a good ending for white to be thinking this should be drawn. These double rook endings are notoriously difficult to win, even though you have a passed pawn, because your king cannot eject the blockading pieces. And as we see here on this board, white's going to be able to freeze black to defend the pawn, even though you're up a pawn. He's going to freeze that. And then his active rook on d5, he can use that rook to just float back and forth to keep your king out the game. So not an easy technical task.
At all. King g3, by the way, was played, eschewing rook takes h5, which of course would have been my first temptation, without a doubt, to take that pawn off the board. But Wesley is probably counting on the fact that his 2 pawns on f3, g2 do a great job at killing the majority. And we have seen king g6 defending the pawn, and
king h4.
They say, no. Actually, I take it back. I do want to take the pawn, and I am threatening rook check. And Fabi says, well, it's the scraggliest looking pawn you've ever seen, but it's mine. I want to keep it. And he's played the move f5.
Okay, but again, how does black plan to make real progress here? Rook c3 played. Rook c3 on the board, and you look at this position, and white continued with rook c6, rook d4, and this is the problem. Now, white has said, your c-pawn needs defense. Your only way to beat me is to bring your king into the game. But how can you do anything with your king here?
Exactly. As soon as white plays the move f3, f4, the black king is not crossing to the e5 square. He won't be able to chase the rook away, and it should be a fortress draw. King f6 on the board, and very quickly.
Fabi shook his head there, by the way. He can tell you don't win this position. You never defend your c-pawn, but white's not going to fall for any tricks. You can't even create the trick. Maybe rook g8 would be the one sleeping trick in the position. I'm wondering, even if you get my g-pawn, if I take on c4, if you're even dreaming of winning this position as well, no, you're not. No. There you hung mate, Yaz. Be careful.
Oh,
there you hung mate. That would have been a good trick.
Okay.
Yeah, be careful. There's probably going to be if rook takes g2, rook c6 check first before taking this pawn. And then we're okay.
He likes the pawn so much, though. I mean,
he took it. He hung mate on h2.
I want that die with a full belly, as you like to say.
Yeah, die with a full tummy.
How does Fabiano feel right now? He was crushing the guy.
Bad,
he let it slip away. He has played rook
It's
g8.
a waste of such a solid opening like the Benoni, where you get this great tactic. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. The Benoni's not solid, but the fact that he put his opponent off balance and got a great tactic, but then failed to convert it doesn't feel good. Because it's like when you bring the Benoni out and you do manage to get exactly what you wanted, which is to throw your opponent off balance. Oh, it feels so sweet, doesn't it?
Big game for Wesley. Come on, this is a big result. He might be going back and saying, I'm not playing really well, but survived that one. And Fabi's going to feel it without any question at all. He's going to say, man, I should have won that game.
He just let it slip away.
So now we've seen two games where both players should have won and didn't deliver.
Opportunities.
Right?
Yeah.
Missed opportunities. So we've seen that. Sharp match, tactical alertness. That's what it's all about.
That's
right. Although
and
that game one has got to hurt a lot more than this game, because that game one, Wesley was up 3 pawns.
Yes.
Definitely. Fabi was only up 1 pawn in this game. And we do have, strangely enough, the players have gone down that whole variation that we had been looking at.
Well, the reality was there was nothing to play for. This is the only thing black had, and this position, and it's just nothing to play for. You can't get your king in the game. You could, there was nothing to do about the c-pawn. So this is just draw.
Easy
draw.
This
is just a draw. Easy, no way to improve with the king. The king would be the thing here. And if you play king d6, I'm thinking even rook d4 check would get the job done, but you could even swing the rook over.
Yeah.
And it looks like this is what's going on here. The rook has swung over. You just make no headway with your king. Your white is also ready to put the king on h6 at some point as well. So
exactly.
Easy draw.
Easy draw.
And the thing is, even though it is an easy draw, there is no draw offer before move 60 in the match. So 60 moves. So they're now currently, is it move 45?
Yeah.
I see here. So they've got to make 15 more moves before being able to offer a draw. They could repeat if they'd like, find a way to repeat, maybe rook back and forth. But you see Wesley there feeling like he's no longer in any danger whatsoever, not even looking at the screen, because he knows he's strong enough with 3 minutes on the clock to handle this one.
Exactly.
There'll be no blunders here.
Right. And just to review, for those who are just joining us, this is a sweet tactic back on move 19.
Yes.
Move 19. That was where Fabi uncorked knight takes e4, winning a pawn and getting himself into a winning position. But Wesley fought back and has got himself into a drawn ending. This is the current position. And Fabi has just played the move rook g4 to g1. He's hoping that somehow he'll be able to play rook to e1 to e4 and spear this pawn on f4. Well, lots of luck with that. I don't think it's even close. We'll do something like a rook check,
Well, he played
followed
King
by
H6. Rookie.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Rook check. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to say rook check and move the king somewhere. I don't know where, d5, and come back and collect this guy.
That'll do it.
That'll do it.
That'll do it indeed. You know, this game, game 3, leaves only one more game before the clutch games. And
Right.
the way this match has gone with all these tactics and small misses, those games are going to loom large because you don't want to make this kind of blunder when the games are worth 2 points. So this,
Yeah, that's right.
This has
And
been
the other
uneven moments in the games, right? Uneven moments, not the whole games, but just uneven moments where tactical issues have cropped up in both their play. And right now we are looking at what will be a draw as they trade off rooks. And
King takes. Rook e4, trading the rooks. Wesley did.
Wesley understood this one.
King g6, King e7, and now we're expecting King g7.
Only move.
That's a funny.
That's a fancy draw.
Very fancy.
Yeah, both pawns
it's
queen.
a little pendulum, right?
And you see them both getting up there, and they
As a
see
draw grid.
very clearly that this one is indeed drawn.
And there it is, a draw miss there from Fabiano if he had won this game. The nice thing about winning 2 games in the regular time control is that, I mean, the regular scoring system, the regular games, is that it's nice to go into those clutch games with a 2-point lead, right? So that even if you lose one of them, you're still even at the end of the day. But Fabiano, I do like that final draw. It's got that pendulum feel. We threatened King F8, and then we threatened King F5, and it's very sweet. So here it is, 1 point for Wesley So. He's got to feel satisfied as he missed this knight takes e4 blow. Remember, guys, when you're looking at sequence of captures, you got to go to the end. You got to look at all the different captures, right? Even the very best, one of the very best in the world went astray there. So if one of the very best in the world went astray, then you better double check your own work.
For sure. Just before we go on break, I just want to say that for me, this was a very, very surprising decision. A lot of Benoni players will understand that the base pawn, the d6 pawn, that's the heart and soul of the Benoni. You don't trade your d6 pawn for some lousy pawn on b3. If Fabi had dropped back with the queen, I have no doubts that he would have gone on to success in this position, because both the b3 pawn as well as the d5 pawns are hanging, and I think that this would have been the proper technique for Fabi to win the game. A big miss early in this match.
I agree 100% with you, Yaz. That was definitely the move that was called for, and the players have to be like cornerbacks in football. You scored on me, I forget it. I played a bad game. What happened? Huh? What? No.
Right.
Anything bad that happens to you, you forget as quickly as possible. You do not want to spend time ruminating, trying to digest what happened in that game. Right. You've got the next game in front of you. You forget about anything else that's transpired before that. So we will see how they manage to do that, but we will go on break right now with a clutch moment from one of the all-stars of chess, Ding Liren.
Nice.
In the 2019 Sinquefield Cup, Ding Liren faced off against world champion Magnus Carlsen, who had previously won 10 tiebreak matches in a row. The finish was one for the history books.
As Ding Liren, no doubt, came into this position thinking, the draw is fine. I'll take white next game. Magnus got nothing with the white pieces, and Ding Liren, if his attitude is, well, I had a whisper of a chance, but it didn't work out, so what?
And it looks like this is exactly what's happening as the first game of the rapid playoff is drawn. Now, some may say that that's a big success for Ding Liren, as he had Magnus in a great position for Ding Liren, and now he gets the white pieces.
Here it is. They both want it badly. Magnus has tasted the sweet nectar flowing from the Sinquefield Cup twice already. Ding Liren never. But Magnus wants to win everything he plays in, and Ding Liren would love to get this for the first time.
No, and there it is, a handshake as we go to blitz. Ding Liren versus Magnus Carlsen. Is this going to get faster and faster here? Both men playing so perfectly so far.
They're fighting with just 9 seconds, 5 seconds total time.
I think it's going to be a draw, guys.
But why? Why doesn't he just move his bishop?
Now moving his king.
Check.
Going back again.
Now this looks like a repeat.
Okay, now bishop back to d4. He should not want to draw. He is torturing Magnus right now to find the right moves. Magnus down to once. Magnus has lost on time. Magnus has lost on time. Ding Loren pushing him over.
Wow. Magnus Carlsen dejected as now he has to come back to even up the score just to stay alive.
But it's good enough, and we see them starting.
Magnus,
mate threat.
Queen F8
97 though. Whoa.
Counter mate threat. Rook H1 mate.
A mate on H1.
How do you stop Rook
How do you
H1
stop
mate?
it? That's a spectacular shot, winning the game. The game is over.
Queen D8 just spite check. King G7.
Spite
King
check.
G7. Rook H1 is mate.
Wow.
It's
That's it.
There it is.
Ding Loren is the champion of the Sinkfield Cup.
Our Sinkfield Cup champion, Ding Loren.
Since 2009, our mission has always been to teach and promote the value chess brings to our community. In these times of social distancing, it's more important than ever that we stay connected to carry on that mission.
We are currently offering 24 weekly classes online through our YouTube and Twitch channels. We're also holding tournaments and private lessons online.
From the comfort of their own home, students can enjoy all the benefits of our Scholastic Chess Initiative digitally. Our Scholastic outreach continues with virtual chess classrooms, Scholastic tournaments, and Scouts BSA merit badge workshops.
On behalf of everyone at the St. Louis Chess Club, we hope you and your loved ones stay safe and continue to watch, play, and enjoy the game of chess.
welcome back to our coverage of Clutch Chess, and this is our score. We just saw a draw in the third game of Rapid. That gives Wesley 1 point, Fabiano Caruana a 1 point lead, but he really wished he could have had more as he was dominating in that Benoni after being sharper than his opponent. But hey, Wesley managed to defend it, so kudos to him.
He certainly did. And yes, we are. That's what I was going to say. The players are definitely practicing their Ruy Lopez skills as we see yet again a different variation. This time, what I tend to call the Rubinstein Ruy Lopez with the slow D2, D3. Normally, that's on move 6. Normally on move 6, everybody has played Rook E1 for the better part of 100 years, but D2, D3 was an old idea of Akiba Rubinstein to slow play the position, threatening to capture the knight. That provokes the early B5 and A2, A3. Now, Dean Larin, MVL, Fabi, a couple of others have been trying the slow variation, and the immediate bishop E6 by Wesley. Wesley saying, hey, I don't believe you've got anything. I'm just going to protect the D5 square. We saw a trade and knight E2. Now, as far as I know, this is all pretty much the theory. I mean, but the question is, does it lead anywhere for white?
Well, catching us up to the current position, what's up with this last move, bishop E3? So is the idea that you don't mind the move D4 because it's positionally bad?
Exactly. You want to provoke D4. One of the things that I think white would prefer to avoid is some line where somehow, you know, the C5 and knight D4 gets played in one way or another, either knight D4 immediately or what have you. So the idea of bishop E3 is like, oh, please play the move D4 and deny yourself an opportunity in the future. Now, it doesn't mean that necessarily black is busted because he's made a strategic howler of playing D5, D4. It's just a way of trying to take an option away from his opponent. Wesley, after the move bishop E3, by the way, just played rook F7. Looks like rook D1 got played. The rooks doubled and C2, C3. So basically, solid chess so far. Nothing much to say. Rook takes F3, Maurice. No, you love those exchange sacrifices. Don't see the follow-up is the problem. Rook F3 looks good, but
I
no
love
pieces.
You know I love to sacrifice pieces and unbalance the position. Material imbalance is my favorite kind of themes in chess. But I also like to have active pieces to follow behind that.
Exactly.
And just sacrificing and saying, well, I'm going to sit on this position is not my cup of tea. We do see D4 was played by Wesley attacking that bishop. It's a very consequential decision, to be sure, in this position.
But I think, though, that if you don't play D4, maybe white is trying to play D4. If you look at the moves that white's playing, rook D1. And I was a little scared for black that if white gets in D4, that could be a very promising position. So
good point, Jen. Not
just an attacking move, but also potentially a defensive.
And funnily, I agree. Funnily enough, I thought that the bishop should step back right away. The reason I didn't like C3 takes D4 was because something that Maurice just mentioned. You like sacrificing, but you like pieces to come charging right behind. And I was thinking that by trading pawns on D4, you are giving black an active knight suddenly with this move E5.
Yeah, but F4 comes, and this
well, we did see a sack on F3 in the end. Let's see how it went down. As I was not expecting that, but with that
we did see a sack
square open all of a sudden. What Maurice was worried about earlier, there's no way to get pieces in. Now, if we're caught up in the current position, you'll see that knight E5 is the plan.
Exactly.
The key to the idea was to take with the knight on this square.
D4.
This was his whole point. Knight takes D4 because once you eliminate the dark square bishop, now your pieces do stream. You get the bishop in the game as well. The knight definitely to e5 and the bishop appearing in the game. So this sacrifice, totally different story. Beautifully done. Knight takes d4, knocking out the bishop from the protection of the dark squares. And this is what you call compensation. The main reason being that white's rooks cannot gain that easy activity to prove themselves that, yeah, I am actually up an exchange. And I'm going to show you what an exchange feels like. Not in this position, because the rook on c1 won't really go anywhere after the move c5. Here we see queen f4 played. A bishop can get on that long diagonal. The knight can get to e5. Black has more than enough compensation. What a amazing, beautiful idea by Wesley.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who has ever played a French defense and they played f6 and f6 takes e5, they're looking at rook on f8 takes f3. And anybody who's ever played a Sicilian, open Sicilian, put their rook on c8 and sacrifice a rook for an exchange on c3. So this is a very, very thematic exchange sacrifice by Wesley. I for one, am very surprised that Fabi allowed it, frankly.
Rook g1 just played,
Yes, but,
trying to get knight h5 in. Is this a good move? What happens if we just take on f3? Are we?
Ooh, no, we don't want to trade queens.
We don't want to trade queens. I'm sorry. I don't want to trade queens. No. You're not getting away with that. Forget about that. I'll stop your
with knight
threat.
e5, but knight e5, there's knight h5, right? So we have to play something to stop knight h5. What, queen h4?
I mean, we have
queen h4
G6.
is a good.
We have
a
G6,
good move.
which is straightforward.
G7, G6 is a good move. Just to put the kibosh on the knight h5. Queen h4, I'd be a little reluctant because I really like knight to e5, knight takes f3, bishop d6. Somehow that queen on f4 is gorgeous. And I'm thinking g7, g6 might be my first choice.
That's the move that was played. White's got a one-move threat. You stop the threat, what else do you have? You're not going to play knight h5 now because of queen h4. So you had your one-move threat, and that's it. Now the knight has dropped back to f1, just to show you how anemic it became after that move g6. It was completely dominated by Black's pieces, and now Black is for choice. However you look at this position, I'd love to play knight e5. I mean, that's my first instinct.
Well, of course.
Play knight e5 and look for the f3 square. Of course, the knight is headed to d2.
Right. Now, here the thing is that I would not want to do. I wouldn't want to release the pressure that I feel that Black has placed on his opponent. Knight takes f3, trade everything. Hey, wait a minute. I'm in an ending where I only have one pawn for the exchange.
No way.
That's no good. I'm not
giving it.
Now, in a dream world, I would love to play bishop b4 and take on d2 and then take on f3. And I'm thinking, okay, just go ahead and slow play it. You've got an exchange. Are you going to put your rook on g3? Well, I'll harass you. And on a good day, I might go bishop d8 to a5 to take d2, or just play c5 and d3. So I really like Black's compensation, and even worse.
That position you just put on the board, look at Black's pieces compared to White's pieces. White's pieces just
all on the first and second rank, right?
Like you're up a what? who cares what you're up in exchange? All your pieces are defensive. All of Black's pieces are active. And until you start making moves that open files and give you chances, we don't care. This is clear compensation. And I'll say, we wanted to sack on f3.
Oh, sure.
But the point was how to follow it up. It's Wesley with the genius idea of the way he played it, playing with knight takes on d4. That was the sweet one, and he showed how it's done. And now we have this position on the board, and he's played the move queen back to h6, attacking the rook.
Well, he played first bishop to d6. He didn't play the move knight e5, which I've been kind of pounding the table. Get the knight to e5. He first played queen f4. Now he's just said, look, I just set up the bishop on d6. And only after rook g3 did he drop back with his queen, say, look, I'm eyeballing your rook. Are you really going to let me take it?
Well, I'm going to tell you straight up, if you wanted my rook in this position, you can have it.
Yeah, right.
He's played knight to d2.
How ironic that I wanted to play with the knight on e5, I wanted to give up the bishop for the knight. How ironic that he could play now bishop f4, followed by knight e5, c5, and then he could take the knight whenever he wants. That's a nice variation. But we do have knight d2 on the board. I wanted to say, as Fabi is saying, hey, look, your compensation is so good. I'm going to give you back the exchange. What happens after takes, by the way? And queen e3.
There it is. Your question has been asked on the board.
That move, Wesley's shaking his head vigorously right now, as though he missed something, but
he looks disgusted,
wrong?
like he yeah.
That's not always,
did he miss something?
Sometimes people shake their head, you know, even if they think their position is good. I notice that with Hikaru sometimes. It's not always a direct tell. Like in poker, for instance, when somebody acts upset, usually they have a good hand, and the opposite means they have a bad hand.
Yeah, but that's poker, and this is chess. And I don't know that he would want to act this way when his position, he's gotten the exchange back. This is an exchange I'm happy to give back if I'm white. I'm not sure I'd like to see a queen just posting on e3 the way this queen would. Certainly not something you would want to see. But it looks like the D pawn could come under fire. This is like a Benoni now. Like Fabi's playing a Benoni again. Right, the pawn structure is shifted that way, and the D pawn once again is weak.
Well, here's the problem White's facing. It's a very concrete problem. If you defend the queen,
which he's done,
and you're just allowing this knight to fork your pawns, and basically, if you play f4, well, there goes your pawn. So he can just win a pawn after rook e1. And he's done it?
Yep.
Is that right? I mean,
we are at that point where
it looks to me like it's pretty much game over, e5. I mean,
to tie up the match.
I'm the pawn grubber. This looks like a very, very handsome extra pawn here for black.
Because you also have the better rook and better knight. So it's not just a pawn.
Exactly. It's not.
Wait, what just happened? What just happened? Looks like we had a few moves.
This was good. I think Wesley just played after knight b3, c5, defending his pawn. Now, after rook d2, he didn't want to play c4 right away because of knight takes d4. So he played e5, inviting this. But after e5, okay, here, let me see what did he play after c5? Rook d2. And then...
And he played c4.
Right.
Knight takes d4, getting his pawn back, and then e5.
And then e5, okay. So he did do it this way. I wasn't sure what order Wesley did this. So now he's given back the pawn after f takes e5. So... rook check, rook here. That looks pretty good. Rook check, rook e1. I like both. I don't know which is best. I definitely like the check, and I like going after this pawn, and I equally like going after this pawn as well. I just don't know which is the best pawn to go after. My inclination would be to go after the b pawn, because if I can win b2, then the pawn on c4 should be enough for a win. What is Wesley thinking about here? What's the alternative? He can check and take on e4? No.
Well, isn't it White's? Did White? Looks like he has taken. I'm not up to date right now on my board. Is this the game?
My last move I see is f takes e5.
Right. So it is black.
Wesley to play. And Wesley, I think, should play rook f1. If I'm playing a blitz game, I'm thinking check and rook b1. Because I'm thinking if I could take this guy, then this pawn. And in the meanwhile, if I can get a knight ending, these two pawns on e5 and e4 aren't going anywhere.
What about b3, though, in that exact position? when you play like this.
This exact position. Yep.
Yes, because you don't.
And so I take a pawn, and I'll take
Rook F2. Rook F2. Be careful.
And I'll trade rooks. It's the knight ending that I want. I'm trying to play a knight ending with a queenside majority away from the king. I don't know. Wesley's taking a lot of time. What else could he be imagining? Not sure.
He's deep. He spent a long time, and he's shaking his head now, as you can see. He's not satisfied with whatever variations he's coming up with at the moment. He knew he had a fantastic position. Or he knows now that he had a fantastic position. And now he's feeling again like, what the heck? Where's the out? Where's the good out?
It looks like he's talking.
Looks like he has. Look, we do have the position on the board. We do have the position. It looks like we need to catch up with the players.
We do have this position with rook to F at the end of the position.
He's
Wesley's going off for
variation.
the A pawn. Yeah.
This is the same position we were looking for. But look, knight, you've got to trade rooks now because knight E6. Well, you can wait one tempo, but you can't wait two. Knight E6 is coming, and that's at least a draw in there. You're going to have to play H5 to stop actually H6 might be more prudent because H5, there might be an H4 burial in there somewhere. This position is no longer easily winning. You're going to, looks like, have to go for rook B2, trade off pieces. But Yasser, even though you're talking about that knight ending with the outside passer, is that an easy one?
No, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's advantage black.
And he has played rook to B2.
Yeah. I'm thinking that we're in that moment where he really spent a lot of time, that move 32. I was thinking that maybe he should have just gone for the knight ending directly with the move rook F2. And in this case, played with 3 versus 2 on the queen side. Definitely better in my view for black. But okay, what we do have is a very tricky ending in front of us now.
96 on the board, and Wesley's saying, I'm going to pick off one of your pawns with knight C7. How do you stop that? And if you do stop that, then I'm going to bring my king into the game as well. I do have my own trumps.
Whoa. Hold on. So consequentially, knight C4.
Right, knight C7.
Give me the pawn. Take. And now I want to...
You're going to get one, but you're not going to get both because I play knight C5. So if I play king F... No, I'm going to play king into the game. King F2.
King into the game.
No, not there because you have a knight D4 check I don't want to face.
Gotcha. Here.
And now knight C5.
And now knight C5, knight D4, trying to go, king baby, go.
Yeah, king attacks.
Go, baby, go.
Okay, if I go one more over, you're promoting, so I can just play knight to stop you.
Right, knight to stop me. And okay.
And you're not pushing that forward for a while.
Yeah, I've tied you down, but no, I understand.
It's the active king, right? We're in the king and pawn ending with the active king. So that's a difference. And look at the way they have gone, and they're similar. That white king is just too good. That white king is great. It's fast. It comes into the game to help against the B pawn. The knight by itself cannot do the job. So it looks like this is going very quickly to a draw. Wesley disappointed in himself as this position looked so promising at one moment after his exchange sacrifice, but he was not able to find just the right moves. You see him already, I don't know where he's looking, like looking out the window somewhere saying, come on, what does it take to beat this guy? Had a great position, very promising, but was not able to seal the deal with the accurate moves as Fabiano now also with an edge on the clock.
Not a big edge. Still, you got to say black's a little bit better in this knight ending. Knight endings can be very tricky. I just want to say, okay, so we've just seen the move king e3. I was expecting knight b3, by the way. So why aren't we essaying knight c5 here for?
But yes, sir. Yeah, yes. I mean, how does your king even do anything here? I'm talking about the black king, because e5 shuts you down completely.
Which is what he's done, by the way. e5, king f7, king back to d2. It's kind of like a mutual standoff. I can't go with the king to e6, and I can't go with the king to b3.
And I can't go to e7 because of knight c6 check.
Right.
King e7, knight c6 check.
We're kind of boxed out there.
Exactly.
Now this is looking, I'd be very surprised. As you said, they're tricky endings, but I'd be very surprised if this is anything but a draw. And we've jumped ahead as they made many moves. And like this one, we're convinced.
That's a draw.
The only reason they're not shaking hands is because of that 60 move draw. So they're going to probably find a way to repeat or just play 10 more moves.
So what happened is they did play that line, by the way, with king e7, knight check, what you were saying, Jen. And they quickly got to 2 versus 2, done deal, draw agreed.
I'm somewhat surprised because there is a 60 move rule that I saw in the regulations. They only made it to move 49. Of course, this is dead drawn, and they can offer each other a draw. But I
think in the previous game, too, that rook ending, they didn't exactly make it to 60. And there wasn't a repetition. It was a draw agreed.
Curious to find out from the arbiter. I mean, clearly it's a draw.
Yes.
Clearly,
of course.
The rules do stipulate that it's 60 moves, not anything less. Nevertheless, an opportunity going now into the clutch games. We find the score, Fabi with the 1-point lead, but we've had 3 draws so far. Nip and tuck action, mistakes getting made. But still, this is the situation, 2.5 to 1.5.
That's right, 2.5, 1.5. A lot more blood could have been spilled in this match. Every game easily could have been decisive. And we are going to start those clutch games. That's coming up right after. 2 points for the win, a draw for 1 point, 2K instant bonus for any game that you win. And that money is in addition to the overall prize pool. So you've got 30K for first, 20K for the runner-up. While the big clutch money at stake today, games 5 and 6, 2K per game. Clutch games 11 and 12, it's 7K. And if there are draws today, even more money will go into those final games.
I predict that games 11 and 12 will feature at least $8,000 a game, as I think one of those games will be drawn to game 5 or game 6. I don't see blood being spilled in both games. That would be wild in the action, but we'll see as the games will commence soon. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Can you hear it? It's the sound of hope. And health. And strength. It's the sound of compassion. Of open doors. Where people and machines are in tune and miracles occur. It's the sound of personalized healthcare and active communities. It sounds like life, and it's what you hear when you really listen. Listening to you, caring for you. We are Ascension.
Be surprised. Be intrigued. Be delighted. The World Chess Hall of Fame in St. Louis is nothing you'd expect and everything you love. 3 galleries highlight the history, culture, and creativity behind the game. Explore chess in ways you never imagined. It's a one-of-a-kind cultural institution where rare artifacts and world-class art play together. The World Chess Hall of Fame. Mind, art, experience.
And we are back with Clutch Chess as we are in the clutch portion of the competition. These next two games will be worth double points. A win will get 2 points. That means if Fabiano wins, he's going to extend his lead to 3-point lead. While if Wesley wins, he'll actually leapfrog Fabi and take a 1-point lead. So much at stake, including a 2K instant bonus.
Well, this finals has given us the type of chess we expected at the top of the show. Both players in top-notch form, but both players also missing opportunities after having played beautifully. Like that Benoni game that Fabi played was a great game. He uncorked this beautiful sacrifice, and then he played very badly, allowing Wesley an opportunity for, and it was a case of mutual double blindness. So although we've seen a lot of draws, we've been seeing great fighting draws is what I would determine. And now with these clutch chess games and 2 points up for grabs, okay, somebody's got to rise to the occasion, and we're back to 1D4.
The tension's definitely increased.
And
the
no
tension
more.
has increased, and we see Wesley essaying what he played against Nakamura with his bishop g5. Will he play h6, bishop f4 again?
That would be amazing, because he played. It worked like a charm against Hikaru.
Absolute charm, a blistering victory with the white pieces against Hikaru. That's that rook d7 game we're talking about.
Yes.
And we do see him playing the exact same idea, but Fabi, he's done his homework. One of the best prepared players on the planet. So I'm taking on c4 right now. Thank you very much. We're not going for that other line.
Well, who famously said I'm playing e4 for a draw and d4 for a win? It really depends on the ins and outs of your repertoire, but it interests me that Wesley is tossing out d4 for these clutch games. He thinks this is the one to go for.
Clearly.
Yes,
and,
indeed. And by the way, he's doing it in the kind of variation that Fabi prepared heavily for against Magnus Carlsen in their World Championship match in 2018. You remember those rock'em sock'em battles that happened in that match, and with Magnus playing d4 and Fabi essaying the Queen's Gambit declined. So boldly stepping into what must be great preparation by Fabiano Caruana, and we see this move e3, a6 on the board.
Offering a transposition of sorts to a Queen's Gambit accepted, which is well in Fabi's repertoire, actually in Wesley's as well. And the difference is that normally in a Queen's Gambit accepted, White's bishop is actually on c1. In this particular case, it's on the far more active f4 square. So I have to say advantage White once again in the openings.
We're seeing some quick moves, by the way. Yasser, if you might
really
just jump back momentarily.
Let me go back to what happened here. First of all, that we did see h6 and takes, and now a6, and the players quickly are playing a kind of a Queen's Gambit accepted with knight e5 and trades, and I'm up to date with the players now after bishop takes e5. Again, slight advantage for White. Normally in a Queen's Gambit accepted, Black has to get in the move c5, followed by c5 takes d4 in order to equalize. So he's a move or two away from achieving that. Here, bishop f3, bishop
far
f3
away at all. Bishop f3 can you just trade
suggests itself.
It has been played. What if you trade and play c5? What's wrong with that?
Well, then I take on c5. You take,
and
then rook d1 followed by bishop f6, and it's a clear advantage Wesley.
What?
So
could you play that?
Just to be clear, bishop f3, queen f3, c5, takes on c5. Here, after takes, rook d1. If you play queen e7, takes followed by knight e4, advantage Wesley. So,
but can't I play, when you play takes, I can't play queen takes?
What I wanted to say is maybe after queen takes, you got to throw in knight d7, and this looks like what Fabi did. Is he did throw in knight d7.
Yep.
Queen f3, knight d7. Very important move.
c5 played.
And now c5, yes.
And when Black gets this move in, if you don't have anything as White that punishes Black, shows some real positional bind, this usually just leads to
equality,
position and equality. And The only move to deeply consider, in my opinion, is the move D5.
Exactly, which
Because
I've
if you
got
capture
on
on C5, that's easy. That's easy chess.
Yeah, no, that nobody disputes that is a line. But now with the move D5, you can create an imbalance at least of 4 versus 3 on the king side, 3 versus 2 on the queen side, and you've got a knight, and you're a little bit behead. Free your pieces. Your queen is already on F3. The queen is still on D8. So D5. But I'm sure Wesley is trying to argue, if I play Rook D1, and if you take, and I take with the rook, I have an advantage. How big is my advantage?
This didn't happen, by the way. He did play D5, capture on D5, knight takes, and then knight to F6 on the board, saying, let's go for this imbalance, which, are you comfortable giving black the 3-2 on the queen side if you, well, it looks like you already gave him the 3-2, actually.
Well, here the question is knight C7?
What?
Knight C7 attacking the
how's
rook.
your knight getting back? Your knight's going back to D5 in a second, right? Rook. There's a rook A7.
Rook to D1.
Move the queen. C8.
Queen where? Queen C8.
Seems natural.
Okay, so knight D5 or queen C6?
Whoa, you are really asking for it going in with C6.
By the way, instead of you taking on E7 or playing knight C7, we just saw after knight F6,
Rook D1.
Rook D1, knight takes D5, rook takes D5. So
unfortunately, this feels too easy for black now. Queen B6. I think Fabi is going to be happy with the outcome suddenly. The queen on B6.
Yeah.
Followed by C4. Yeah, he's done it. Queen B6, rook to D1, rook to D8. And I think that once Fabi plays C5, C4, any fears have passed.
Oh, no.
And what about playing rook to D7 in this position? Is that going to help at all? Where are you going to stick your bishop?
I'm probably playing queen E6.
Just queen E6. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably doing that, but maybe
B7?
just trading. Yeah, well, trading. Well, keep in mind rook on D1. You're not threatening rook E7. Sorry, just let me.
True.
This does not contain this threat because of oopsie daisy. There's something at the end of the line here.
But that actually hangs the A2 pawn.
Yeah, for example.
Yeah. So this looks like 0 now for white. And white better be careful because the only advantage in this position looks like the 3-2. He should draw, but you know, this is old school Capablanca. Right. Getting that majority back in the old days, they used to think this was almost automatically winning for black.
Yeah, better for black. That was the old thing, that the queen side majority was too powerful. Here I'm thinking that if I'm in Wesley's shoes, I start thinking defensive-mindedly with the bishop coming to E5, not just to attack, but rather to kind of constrain or control this C5, B4, C3 passer action. So something like bishop E5 would
probably
H3. Get my vote. He played H2 or B3. He played B3.
He played H3 first, a trade of rooks, and then after
rook D8,
rook takes rook D8, he played B3.
Now he's played B3.
Okay. This is with the rooks off, it's looking a lot closer. Complete neutralization by Fabi in this opening very quickly. And by the way, so quickly that they've used what? Less than 3 minutes, barely two, little over 2 minutes. This game has proceeded at such a quick pace that it could be over in 10.
Yeah, and again, yesterday in those semifinals, we kept seeing Leinier Dominguez being behind 4 minutes, you know, each game, and suddenly, like Fabi was winning the drawn positions, he was saving the good, the bad position. So not being behind on the clock, either player really playing very, very fast.
And a 1 point lead for Caruana in the match. We know that's slimmest of margins in such a match. Of course, Wesley, though, a little perturbed because he could be tied right now. Yesterday, though, he was down 1 after 6 games, so he can certainly make a big comeback. But Fabi is playing awfully well and getting good opening positions while he's at it. So definitely Wesley has to be a little bit careful. And again, there we go. Fabi has gotten the move C4 in. Right. It's not the end of the world, that's to be sure, but it's Black who's got the pass pawn sitting in the position. So be careful.
No question about it. The most dangerous pawn in the position is this criminal sitting on C4. I'm playing Bishop E5.
Bishop?
But I'm playing Bishop
D4 threat.
Isn't there a check on the back rank?
Queen B1 check, King H2, yeah, and then what?
Trade rooks.
Okay, he has, by the way, played Bishop E5.
And take the A pawn.
What's your evaluation here? Take, queen check, king up, queen takes. What is...
You would like to take this pawn? Ooh.
Yeah, so you...
I'm a pawn grabber. Wait a minute.
Rook takes D5 first. Get rooks off.
See, sorry.
Yeah.
Rook takes D5 first, queen takes D5.
Correct. Yes.
Go ahead and check, and now take this pawn.
And now take on A2.
Okay, so... I'm going to go after this guy. Let's go after this guy, right? Or should I have checked? Okay, hide it.
Yeah, bishop back, for example. You do have a queen C8, and that creates 2 threats.
Right. I want to either take the pawn on C4 or play bishop D6.
Okay, that is fortunate. That is. Okay, but even here, it looks like, you got away with that one. But even here, Black does have a passed A pawn.
Oh, no question. Black is still for choice.
Yeah, Black
could play Queen A3.
Queen A3, give you the C pawn, push the A pawn as far as you can, and see what happens.
Yeah, no question you're better. No question you're better with that passed pawn. Oops, excuse me. I don't want to hit the keyboard there. My bad.
Okay, he did not play that way. He decided to just trade, and so bishop E5, queen E6, forcing the rook D8 trade. He did not go for that line.
How interesting. He could have gone check and taken the pawn. Was there an alternative here for white that I missed? Maybe Fabi saw something, maybe check and check. Maybe this is what disturbed him.
That's a problem. Good point. That'll do it, because you don't want to play G6 here for any good reason, because it could lead to some back rank dangers for sure. Yes.
Right.
That is a good point.
Yeah,
all right. Well, we're in a sharp ending that looks like white should have enough compensation, but these queen endings, they're all about pass pawns and king security. That's it. That's what they boil down to.
Well, one person has king security and one person has a pass pawn. So.
That's right. That's right. I mean, this is all about pass pawns and king security. How strong is your passer? Can you make it work? And how exposed is your king? Can I make you suffer while you're trying to get pawns down the board? If anybody is trying for the win here, it is Black. White has difficulty getting any movement, but he has great chances against that king that's a bit exposed.
For sure, especially thanks to the fractured double pawns. It means that whenever Black plays the move King G7 to cover this pawn, there's a check, and you regret the fact that you have the double pawns. So I'm thinking that this is really like super close to a draw. I mean, I don't, like, for example, go ahead. If I play a move like F3 and just say, do your worst.
By the way, E4 was played, yes.
Even more aggressive.
Me. Oh, that's even more direct.
Even more direct. Take my pawn, please, and drop your babies on the king side.
That's
not going to happen. He's going to have to, looks like he has to drop back and go. So this is starting to look like a draw, and we should point out, a draw in this game takes the $2,000 from game 5 and puts it on games 11 and 12, already worth $7,000. Each will then be worth $8,000.
Right.
And we do have the draw happening in front of us. They have decided to go for the draw, and that is what will occur.
Oh, boy.
Watch game 5 now looking like it's in the books.
Right.
Or has it happened yet? They're still sitting there. So hard to believe that it's over. I don't think they'd still continue to sit.
No, I mean, from
there it
Wesley's
is.
point,
That's the look.
yeah,
That's the look of
that's the
relief,
look.
and they're going.
Yeah, I was about to say, Wesley's just taking a glance to see, well, like, could I go here, take this pawn and run my H pawn? No, no, and no. This pawn is way too fast. Better to take the perpetual and play the last clutch game of the first half of the match.
And like we said, the bonus now rolling over to the final two games, making them even more important. And I believe it was you, Yaz, who said, I don't think this match is going to be decided before the finals. The final two games. This is going the distance, and we could tell.
Even the final game. I agree with you.
Even the final game. Even the very final game. That game is going to count so much. With the draws, the proliferation of draws in this match, right. Game 11 might be a draw, and we could see a lot of cash pushed over to game 12 with everything on the line. And by the way, we should point out, the tie breaks could come into effect as well. If they don't win the clutch game, anybody wins any clutch games, and the score is tied at the end, we're on to a tiebreak. We're on to the tiebreak. The clutch money is out the window. They would not have been able to win it, and it would be all down to the tie breaks to decide. But that would require Wesley winning a game and evening up this match, which is not impossible. Obviously, he just needs to win one out of the 4 remaining single-point games in order to tie up the match. But so much will ride on those games, and also, of course, the clutch games, which are worth so many points.
And we're going to take a short break, and we will have our final game. Yes, it is a clutch game worth double points right after the break.
Since 2009, our mission has always been to teach and promote the value chess brings to our community. In these times of social distancing, it's more important than ever that we stay connected to carry on that mission.
We are currently offering 24 weekly classes online through our YouTube and Twitch channels. We're also holding tournaments and private lessons online.
From the comfort of their own home, students can enjoy all the benefits of our Scholastic Chess Initiative digitally. Our Scholastic outreach continues with virtual chess classrooms, Scholastic tournaments, and Scouts BSA merit badge workshops.
On behalf of everyone at the St. Louis Chess Club, we hope you and your loved ones stay safe and continue to watch, play, and enjoy the game of chess.
St. Louis University is celebrating its 200th anniversary. Offering world-class education in the heart of St. Louis, SLU attracts students and professors from around the globe. In 2015, SLU partnered with the St. Louis Chess Club to start a top-tiered collegiate chess team. On the very first year of the team's inception, SLU obtained second best university at the Pan American Intercollegiate Chess Championships. Higher purpose, greater good. St. Louis University.
Be surprised. Be intrigued. Be delighted. The World Chess Hall of Fame in St. Louis is nothing you'd expect and everything you love. 3 galleries highlight the history, culture, and creativity behind the game. Explore chess in ways you never imagined. It's a one-of-a-kind cultural institution where rare artifacts and world-class art play together. The World Chess Hall of Fame. Mind, art, experience.
And we are back with Clutch Chess and our final clutch game. It's Wesley So versus Fabiano Caruana. The winner will be the leader going into tomorrow. It'll either be Fabi by 3 points if he wins, or Wesley by 1 point. Okay, it could be a draw, guys, but I don't know. I'm smelling blood in the water. What do you think?
Well, I mean, we've been seeing some tremendous chess thus far as the players get ready for this all-important Game 6. Just wanted to, the players have played so fast. It's been hard for us to analyze and point out. And I just was saying on our break that I think there was a missed opportunity in clutch game number 1. That is the Game 5. Wesley quickly had played on move 14, bishop to G3. Instead, I think many grandmasters, especially Wesley being a Catalan player, in the Catalan, you're always trying to play that move C7, C5, and Catalan players just love to post up on the C6 square. I'm not saying that Wesley has an overwhelming advantage or anything like that. No. It's just the move that you play in these types of positions to stop C5.
And we have a game underway.
The game is underway. Let's get going.
We're back in the Ruy Lopez argument that we've seen so far. Wesley's remembering that good game. He had that great exchange sacrifice, and Fabi has waltzed right into the position one more time. Does he have an improvement? I would think he has an improvement. He doesn't want to see that rook F3 sacrifice happen again. It counts as lucky stars that he was able to draw that position. Wesley, rook. We weren't happy to see Wesley take that rook on G3, even though he had what's supposed to be a great position, but giving away his bishop for that rook on G3 didn't seem quite right. And now Fabi has changed tactics and played the move A4.
Right. In the previous game, he played bishop E3, trying to induce the move D5, D4, but A4 is his improvement.
Yes.
Now, the question is, by the way, is it an improvement?
By the way, if this game is drawn, then games 11 and 12 tomorrow will be worth $9,000 each.
Right.
Right.
And
that's pretty tense. A lot of money into two of the most tense games in the match, and it's looking more and more like that is guaranteed to happen, unless somebody runs away with it in the morning tomorrow, which doesn't look like it should be the case.
That's happening.
No, they're just so resourceful and so tightly matched. It just seems that inevitably some of the games are drawn, right? Somebody would really have to put on, 3 in a row. I mean, it happens, but it's unlikely.
Wow.
Highly unlikely. But Wesley's doubled rooks again.
And once again, Fabiano is saying, look, I don't believe in the sacrifice. And he's just said, prove it. I played the move rook on A1 to E1. Do you want to sacrifice? And let's just have a quick gander at this. Rook takes F3, G takes F3. Last time you saw a line where the knight jumped to D4 and the knight was going to go to E5, and Black was exploiting the dark squares. In this particular case, now we can understand why Fabi would say, hey, I don't believe in the sacrifice because knight D4. But even so, I'm still a little bit partial to the sacrifice, frankly. I'm thinking, okay, let me play a move like bishop here, trying to get some dark square control. What are the rooks actually doing?
Queen C5 played, by the way. Queen C5 and queen to D1.
Queen C5.
I'm not. Yes, Queen D1. I'm not sure what is so attractive in Fabi's mind about this.
Thank you.
That knight on G3 has no hope, no future. The knight on F3 is not going anywhere. All squares covered. It's so, okay, right now he is threatening, or looks like he's threatening the E pawn, yes. So, okay, I guess I was wrong.
Well, what, you think you should take the pawn on E4? No, he's played Queen D1.
Yeah, but what happens after takes on D5 now? What am I missing?
Oh, he played Queen B6. Sorry, I missed that move.
On D5, and then take back on D5.
And knight takes.
Well, keep taking stuff, and you're not worried about F2 at the end of the day.
In this position, I guess I do have to worry about it. I would be forced. I don't want to play knight h1, which is too Nimzovician. But
okay. By the way, sorry, am I missing something? I think I counted wrong. I'm sorry. I can just take on
yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
You can also just take right away.
That's easy.
I apologize. Yeah.
My apologies as well. That's obviously the case. No way you can take for that. You can take that pawn. All right, there you go. So now what? In this position, whoa, d4, blowing open the center of the board with his rook, with his knight on f3. Also in take, by the way. That's still a possibility, but white feels like he's much better prepared in this position than he was before to allow this exchange sacrifice. What a move. Look at that central formation.
Wow. I'm not sure I believe it. Do you guys believe it? I'm not sure I do.
It's on the board, and it looks like a capture. Pawn takes on d4, pawn takes on d5, takes, and we now have this position on the board. Wesley feeling like he should be okay in this case.
Well, I'm thinking if you take the pawn back with knight takes d4, there is this move, bishop c5, eyeballing eyeballing f2. I guess you have to play rook e6.
Yeah,
one good pin deserves another.
Exactly so. And bishop d4, queen d4, rook c6. And at the end of the day, what is going on? How do we?
Well, I feel like the F pawn, the C pawn might be more valuable than the F pawn. That's the problem.
That's a nice judgment, Jen. I agree with you that white's come up roses.
Instead of recapturing, white has played rook e6, talking about upping the ante in a clutch game. This is the kind of chess that we came to see. What a move. Rook e6. Pawn down at the moment, but what's actually happening as the knight on c6 finds itself pinned? You want to be very careful, by the way, because
rook f3 and knight e5, but he just played knight c5 right away.
Yeah, I was about to say knight c5, attacking the rook, but rook f3. What was your intended follow-up? Did you want to play knight
e5 going
knight
after
e5, Jen?
This pawn? That was a sharp line as well.
Yeah, I was looking for that, but Wesley didn't like
promising.
That. Rook c6.
That looks very promising.
Rook c6 and knight e5 is a possibility here, right?
So we have knight c5 on the board. And what's wrong with rook c6? That does look like a possibility. Or what's wrong with a simple bishop takes? Talk about pinning down the guy's knights. Now suddenly he has played this, and neither one of black's knights can move without the pain of the queen dropping. You don't see this every day. Two knights pinned in two different pieces against a queen. This is fascinating stuff on the board right now. What to play in this position? He might need to unpin. He's got to unpin somebody, and he played bishop to d6, unpinning his c6 knight. That is now ready to take the bishop on e3. Drop that bishop, dropping back probably to the e3 square. Will have to drop back to the E3
so knight d4 now, and then knight e6 would be the threat.
c6. So knight d4 is a threat.
Expecting knight takes d4 is the threat, followed by knight takes e6, no question.
And if bishop takes c5, there's queen takes c5, and
yeah, and that defends the pawn on d5 very nicely too. So you kind of think that you want to play bishop e3. Sorry, yes, Maurice?
I want to play knight g5. It feels like a blunder, but I just want to play it.
Okay, let's have a look-see. Knight g5, so you're eyeballing queen h5 as well as knight f7. So knight takes d4. Do you have a cruncheroo?
I was
queen
just going to play queen h5. That was my idea. But it looks like he can just stop me by maybe g6
or h6.
With g6 and then, he can play g6 and then play for rook g7, and I don't have any continuation. That would shut it all down. So no tactics there to look at, as he has this rook g7 shutting everything down.
Nice.
Okay,
nice defense.
He played solidly with the move bishop back to e3.
That was the expected move,
Let's go one square back, bishop to e3. And now the move knight d8.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Knight D8.
That's some contortionist type move to try to get at this rook that has nowhere to go. What's up with this?
Wow.
Well, is there, let's see, there's rook e5 potentially.
Rook e5? What rook e5?
I don't know what's...
Yes, yeah, you could think about it. Although rook takes f3 would be
yes, but rook e5 was played
on the board. Look at this chaos that is.
Oh, did you see? Wesley, what?
Well, rook f3, maybe rook f3, maybe he wants to play rook d5 chat. Rook takes d5, maybe instead of
queen takes d5 check, runs into rook back. What did you want to play?
Rook takes d5. Bishop c5. Bishop c5 is easy. No, you don't have to do this.
Oh, bishop c5.
Bishop c5 is the intermezzo.
Right.
No,
right.
Bishop c5 would have done it because then you do have rook d5 in the position as we analyzed there. Queen c,
gotcha.
Rook d5, and then that's fine.
Oh.
That'll get the job done.
He actually didn't take the rook. He just played c6.
c6, and now rook h5. Wait a second. Count them. Black is not up any material.
No.
It's even Steven.
It's even Steven still. Knight g5 idea is coming back in the mix. So knight to e6, stopping that. Is that rook on h5 a useful piece, or is it a bad piece on that square? Because there's no coordination. There's a miscoordination for the moment in White's camp with that rook on h5. You want to use it, but how? How do you get it there?
Well, how about knight d4? Try to remove the knight on e6 and get that queen into the game somehow.
Well, I hate being in this pin. Grandmaster.
Okay, knight h4.
What?
Knight h4 was played.
Knight h4.
Also trying to get that queen.
That looks like a lack of coordination on the, even more. Even more. I mean, you saw the rook on h5, and you see the knight go to h4, and you say, wait, is this organized? And by the way, where's that rook going?
Exactly.
That rook looks really bad.
What about knight f4 now? What about knight f4? Just trying to...
I would trade everything off in that case. Look, g6 on the board. Now, that kind of move you get terrified of. How do you... Your rook looks really bad at the moment. Yeah, it is an isolated beast over there, not coordinating with your pieces whatsoever. And what does he do? Rook h6. You feel like the rook
h6.
You can feel the rook is gonna just be in trouble. Bishop f4, you have to trade. And after the knight takes, the rook is you're just down a rook. There's a king g7 threat. Oh man, Fabi's getting outplayed at the moment. This looks terrible for White.
In a huge clutch game.
Look at the organization of Black's forces. Black's forces are all together.
Double rooks.
Knights, bishops,
minors.
This is one little pin that White has. But otherwise, White's rook on f1 is not in play. The knight on g3 can't get in the game. The rook is hanging on h4. And he sacrificed.
What happened?
He sacrificed on g6. Knight takes g6.
Wow.
Queen to g4 has.
Okay.
But is this good?
Is it any good? I don't believe it. I don't believe this line.
But
rook g7. How about rook g7? How about rook g7? Bishop h6. Pawn takes h5. My knight is protecting that rook on g7.
Oh no, that's busted. That's over. You can't do that.
So rook g7. What do you do?
You got to move your rook.
He's got to move the rook, Jen.
And there we have it. Rook g7, rook h6 was played.
Exactly. Going after the sensitive button on g6. But this is really hard to believe. I'm like, no, I'm very, very skeptical.
You're only getting 2 pawns for the rook in this position. There will be some hustle factor that will come into this one, but that's about it. It looks like you're getting your second pawn. Don't forget, there is a little angle. There's a little queen, and he's played queen c7, smart move. There's a little queen h4 action, or queen h3, maybe h4 is better, trying to flush that king out into the game. But queen c7, level-headed, don't play it now, as rook h7 will probably land on the board, and then again, the g6 pawn is hanging. What are we thinking about? You're not worried about queen h4?
Well, let's say queen h4, and I say, go ahead. finish your threat.
Right, yeah, because rook h7 is not really doing anything after king f7.
I mean,
can get...
you flush my king to f7, but that's basically
No,
it.
your queen on c7 came back right on time. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, he took on g6. Wesley has played the move. What happened? He took on g6, and Wesley traded. How did you get the bishop?
Played bishop g3, hg3.
Yeah, but the knights got traded. How did we get here? We
he took on c5. He took on c5.
He gave up his dark squared bishop
and then took on g6. And that was where we saw this trade on g3. And now we're expecting this knight to post up gorgeous center nicely in this.
Too good for it's just too good for black, isn't it?
Well, two pawns.
And maybe a third if he can pick off the pawn on b4. And Wesley said, not having it, just a5, freezing that side completely. This looks like not enough compensation.
Inviting a trade. If I'm white, I'm trying to keep the attack alive.
Which he did.
I'm going rook e1.
Played rook e1.
Trying to keep... Now, everybody wants to play knight e4, really, and I understand that move very much so, but you just have to be aware that there is a queen e6 check.
No, he's not doing that. He played queen f7, and he played queen f7, attacking the rook and causing white to trade, and so we have a pair of trades.
Force the trade.
And this endgame looks so bad. We do see 3 passed pawns, a pair of them doubled, but that knight is going to come in the game, and I would be scared. I mean, I
think it's over. Yeah,
I'm thinking I'm busted in this position.
Yeah, right. The worst thing is after a queen trade. If you go queen trade, king takes, f3, you're thinking to yourself, like, hey, I got this knight out of the game. No. This is 4 versus 3, and these 3 connected pawns on g2, g3 are not that powerful. The king actually is a great defender, and you could just imagine that black is easily going to win.
Those pawns are not scaring anybody. They're not
exactly.
They're not scaring anybody. Not in this position. It's going to be hard for you to move them without losing them. In fact, that's not what you are signed up for. But what else is Fabi supposed to do? Because the knight's coming into e4 next.
Yes.
And like if you move your queen, the knight is headed to e4, and then f2 is going to be tender-roni. You can't play f3 because you're hanging g3. And what play do you have?
Exactly.
Fabi is in big trouble, and he's down 2 minutes on the clock as well. He's played the move queen h3. That's not what you want to do. That was for sure.
No, and knight e4 is just, again, now it really begs to be played, because in this case, there's also, there is queen e6 check. Sorry.
Yeah, but queen f7 is queen f7, queen g4.
Of course.
Queen, or queen even rook f7.
Hold on, is that so clear? Queen e6 check. If you play queen f7.
Queen f7, there's a queen g4 problem.
Right. And
look at these guys. Fabi played queen h3 and Wesley played queen h8.
That's a pretty unusual construction. The queen, king, rook all on the back row like that. The super fianchetted queen. So before check.
Fisher random? Anybody? What? Why did he play queen h8?
Yeah, well, check happened and he put his queen right back on g7. We weren't buying that weird maneuver. And,
Wesley's not going to go for a draw. No way.
Are you mad? No.
If I was white, I would be elated with a draw. I'd run out, say thank you very much. I don't want to analyze.
Yasser, you'd give away your firstborn child that you don't have. I mean, there's no way in the world that the guy's gonna let this happen.
Knight e4 is on the board. Fabi, just not my Fabi.
Knight e4 on the board and queen e6 check. And this is his chance. He's hoping for. Is this king too exposed for black to land a killer blow?
Okay, let's go through the variation for just a second. Suppose we go queen f7. Now, again, don't even think about touching the c6 pawn, queen f2. We got queen g4, and let's say we move our king.
Eventually, you're going to have to block with the queen, though. with more checks, right?
Is there some F3 business that Wesley could be afraid of? Yes, exactly. If you check me a couple of times, I'm going to block with my queen.
We're going into this. Oh no, he played King H7 right away.
He
after
played
the check.
King H7.
He played King H7, and if you check again, he can get his queen to H6 and then back his king up to, H8, right? Queen H3 check here can be met by Queen H6.
Right. So he did not play Queen F7. He played King H7. So check right away could be met by this, right? But now we could check.
And king back? What's your next check?
I ran out of checks.
That's what we told the landlord when he came for the rent.
Exactly.
But this position looks winning. Well, and it's the game. It's the game. We're looking at it. King H8 looks like you won't get another check. And Knight F2 and Queen H1 is mate.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Knight F2, Queen H1. That's easy peasy.
And you also cannot play Rook F1 because it looks like, can't you just take on F2 anyway? Knight F2?
Oh,
or
pardon
Knight
me.
G3 and Queen E3 check.
Yeah, I like Knight G3.
Knight
I think
G3.
that's pretty convincing, actually.
Juicy.
Because you've got that mate on H1.
It's the same. Knight F2 is the same. Knight F2 wins the material the same way. Both moves win. And if we're seeing that, you know Wesley sees it.
Yes.
His only move, it turns out now, as Fabi is just regretting this position completely, is the move F3.
Okay.
What else can you do?
Right.
I'm not saying he has a move now, but what else can you do?
Sorry, Jen, what did you say?
So you're trying to, F3, the idea is that after Queen D2, you start getting your checks again with Queen H3 check.
That's the hope. That's just the hope.
Yes.
I don't believe it either, but I'm just saying.
You got to try something, right?
Yes.
No. Oh, wait, Rook E4. Be careful. Rook E4 is a mistake. I mean, Queen D2 is a mistake because.
Oh, right. Yeah, Rook E4.
Why?
Then Queen C1 check? Queen C1
Yeah.
Why is that still
Take
not
the
good for
rook.
me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
so this is the current position. Again, just to remind everybody, Wesley So is trailing by a point, but this clutch game has 2 points at stake. So should Wesley win this game, he'll actually take a lead going into tomorrow's finals.
He will also eliminate any tie breaks. Any tie breaks. And look at this. Rook E2, and this is what I was talking about, the Knight F2 tactic. Knight F2 is possible. Just take. Knight F2, and if you take, then you play this check. Your king has to move. Give me your rook, and you're not drawing.
No perpet. No perpet whatsoever.
Instead, Wesley played Queen C1. But
by the way, that looks like the exact same move. That's the same point. You are not getting out. King to H2. Only
Knight
move,
F2.
And Knight F2 will come, and it's the same position. You have to play rook takes and hope you can draw. You're not drawing that position. The king or the queen or the rook will come back and take care of business. Did he just repeat moves?
I don't know why.
Right?
No, I just put the king on H2.
It did look like he repeated moves for some reasons. Maybe he wanted to try Maurice's move order. But it's funny because normally we talk about how important move order is, but it actually looked like in this case, they both won. Usually you have to be so precise with move order.
Well, I mean, is it Kota's Think Like a Grandmaster, where you are always obliged to make a repetition to show your opponent that you're the one playing for a win?
I don't agree with that, Yaz, though. And I think, or is it you who say that you don't like that book that much, or is that somebody else?
That was me. That was me.
You.
I thought it was a garbage book, and it was like lauded in America as the amateur's Bible. I don't even.
Well,
you don't like any of the classes. You don't like Nimzovich, My System. You don't like Kotas. I mean, wow, these are books that people treasured coming up.
I like that.
Like a 4-time U.S. champion, and we do have the position.
And here we have it.
Finally, Knight F2 and Rook takes on F2 did happen after the Queen C1 check. And then rook f2, queen h3 check, and he's hoping that somehow he's going to be able to swing the queen around and get a draw, but it's not to be believed.
No, too many cross
should be able to
checks.
march, either march to the other side, block with a rook, or block with a queen. There are three different things to do, and Fabi has that look of a man who knows he's dead. You see it there. He is in big trouble after king g7, and this game is busted. Did he resign?
He's about to, I think. And there it is.
The game is over. Wesley So, in a clutch game, needing to come back, has done it.
Right.
Wesley So. What a magnificent defense. Because a lot of these pressure that was on Wesley, even the move rook e5 out of the blue, it looked super strong, threatening bishop takes c5, just his calmness, playing c6, knight e6, g6 to rebuff the attack. And most people aren't doing that against Fabi.
It's
they're
easy
collapsing.
to collapse. Yes, it is easy to collapse. Some very nice defensive moves, but knight h4, that was a little bit of a head scratcher for me. I was like,
really? What? You can't believe a knight is going to h4 and somehow miscoordinating your forces. And look at this, after day one, Wesley So taking the lead with 4.5 to 3.5, also pocketing a couple of G while he's at it. And by winning today's clutch game, he has assured that there is no reason, it is mathematically impossible for there to be a tie-break match. They are going to win it in 12. That's what's going to happen. The next 6 games will decide it tomorrow. Absolutely crucial now for them to get their heads right, because it's on. It's game on.
Doesn't get much closer than this, guys. And
before we go, I just want to point out that was a blunder move by Fabiano. That knight h4. There was an opportunity for Fabi to maybe get that 3-point lead. He could have played knight on g3 to e4, an easy move to miss, because there's a double pin.
What is this?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
it goes beyond that.
And what happens if pawn takes c4? What happens after pawn takes c4?
Pawn takes queen d6. Pawn takes on f3.
Yeah.
You're going to play queen you could just take the c5 knight.
Oh.
But so what? This is hard to calculate. Yes, I mean, there's a bunch of takes and then g2 and all that. Well, we will talk to the man of the hour, man of the day, clutch game victory for Wesley So. Wesley, thanks for joining us. Tell us how you felt, first of all, about how the day went. You were trailing for most of it.
I'm not sure he's hearing us.
It looks like Wesley is not hearing us at the moment. So we will get him on the line as we're trying to get the leader in the tournament at the moment, Wesley So. That move, that variation you're talking about, Yaz, I mean,
that's easy to miss.
That's not winning. I'm sorry. But that's not even.
No.
That's not even close to winning. I mean, that's just a crazy line. I hear that maybe we do have Fabiano Caruana on the line. However, Fabi, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
I'm hearing him speak, but I'm not hearing him in my earpiece. Are you guys? I'm not hearing Fabi myself, so I won't be able to respond to the question. So I'll just ask him.
Can you hear me now?
What did you feel about the day? You were trailing for most of it, but hiccup at the end.
You mean I was leading?
Leading. I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Leading for most of it, but a hiccup at the end.
Yeah. No. I mean, this last game was very sharp, and I lost control. I mean, of course, what I did is extremely risky. It's just based on tactics to play this whole rook e6, rook e5, all that stuff. But it felt very dangerous for him. And yeah, I guess knight e4 at some moment was better.
Did you feel?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I can just take on c5. But sorry.
Yeah, this knight e4 move. I mean, this one. Did you not see it at all? I mean, that looks like something crazy. Even if you do see it, it looks crazy.
No, but I could do it the previous move. This is much stronger than here. I mean, here it looks, yeah, here's the moment to play knight e4 instead of rook h5.
Wow.
Fine.
I guess he has to play bishop e5. He has to take on e5, I think.
Yeah.
Right, his bishop is under a threat, and then you take on c5 yourself.
Yeah, I have knight takes, but I'm not sure that works. But I can just play bishop takes and then bishop f8, a bishop c5, I mean. And queen, I don't know, c7, bishop f8, take on e4, I guess, knight e5, and he takes on f8, and we end up with equal pawns, but my structure is much better than his.
That was a great opportunity for sure.
No, I lost control. I shouldn't have started sacking pieces. I mean, knight g6, I could have played rook h6 and it still remains a complete mess. Although clearly things have gone wrong, but I mean, rook h6, and I was thinking he would play knight f4, but this is still a mess. I mean, it's not like, I don't know, knight f4, I still have knight e4, so he can't do that, so he has to do something else. Bishop f4 was what I didn't like.
Right.
But in any case, I'm not down material. I mean, it's not a good position, but I do keep my pieces. I can take and, well, it still might be a disaster, but obviously what happens.
Sitting on h6. What did you feel was the quality of today's play? Obviously, both of you missed some tactics along the way. There was that game where you took on e4 in the Benoni and looked like to all rights you were winning, but you didn't end up winning that game. It looked like also he had a great game against you when he was up 3 pawns. That was game 1 even. It seemed like just wild, uncompromising play with maybe some errors.
Yeah, I think the quality was maybe not too high, but we were playing very difficult positions. He blundered knight e4. I think this was clear.
Yeah, that Benoni.
And then I blundered.
That was a nice shot.
I mean, of course I should. Yeah, this collects everything. I mean, if he keeps the bishop, which of course he wants to have some counterplay against my king, then I take b3 as well. So, and then I blundered a piece. I mean, this was kind of awful.
Yes.
Like, he had f4. I somehow, I was looking at this idea, but not in this particular moment when f4 just wins a piece, which is incredibly embarrassing.
Did you see it when you played the move knight d5, or were you unaware, blissfully unaware?
Yeah. I saw it after I took.
Oh wow!
No, this was not a great game
to play with that pressure on you.
And the first game I think was also not great, but I can understand it's very difficult to play these positions with low time. I mean, I don't think this was too egregious. He was winning, but it's really not easy to keep control. So I can understand him missing the win here. At the end, I almost thought I'm winning. It's like he is kind of like playing only moves to survive here.
Exactly.
And yeah, the Berlin endgame, of course, where he blundered. He played rook c8 and he I guess blundered rook h1 or something, was also kind of a one move. I mean, a game which was spoiled by one move pretty much, because it was kind of interesting. And I thought if he doesn't play rook c8, he takes on e6 and brings this like rook g7, king f8, rook c7, king g8. He gets counterplay against my king. So, and it's probably completely fine for him. King g8, then rook f8. And I think I was going to play rook g1 and trade everything to a draw, basically, because I didn't want to worry to deal with his attack after rook f8, which could get quite serious. So yeah, overall, a day with a lot of mistakes, but we did play. It's not like we were playing simple positions. With the exception of one game, we played extremely complex positions.
Absolutely.
Before I let you go, Fabi, as we have Wesley waiting as well, you ended up with a 50% score in terms of the number of wins, but you find yourself trailing at this point. Certainly a very different match than you had in the semis. What are your feelings right at this moment?
Well, I think that because of the scoring system, it very often turns into like an Armageddon situation at the end. Like I'm not sure a point deficit is actually much different from 50% if we had, let's say, drawn all the games today, because it will, if it stays tight, it will come down to those last two games, unless they both end in draws. But like yesterday, the Nakamura's situation was basically an Armageddon. He had to win with white. And usually if you have to win with white, it's a must-win where you go to a tiebreak. But his situation was where he would actually win the match outright. So it could very well come down to one of those situations again. One of us has to basically win Armageddon where we don't have a time advantage from the start.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Get your rest. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fabi.
Indeed, and I agree with Fabi. I think that we all think that it's going to come down to the last game. And now we have Wesley So leading the match by 1 point on the line. Hey, Wesley, great job today.
Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Yasser. How Maurice? How are you all today?
Did you get 14 hours of sleep again, Wesley?
No, it's very difficult, as you said. I was very excited to play in the finals, and it's not so easy when you're looking forward to the game.
So tell us, you must have heard everything Fabi just said. What was your feeling as the match was progressing before this final game today?
Oh, well, actually, I was very disappointed not to win the first game. Yeah, the first game, because I checked it later, and then it was completely winning. But it's not so easy, okay? Things happen. And then in the end, I was even risking because my king was under attack. But here, yeah, if I played this correct, h5, knight f8, c5, queen e7. I think if I played c5, queen e7. If I played queen f2 after queen e7, it's a bishop e4. If I played queen f2 here, I think I cut off all his counterplay. Then I play knight c3, knight c5. Then my king's suddenly very safe. And they should be easily winning.
That looks
but yeah, I think
I'm strong.
Yeah, because my king, as long as his queen is not too close to. But I allowed him too much counterplay.
Your bishop e4 definitely did allow him some counterplay here.
Yeah, I was actually fortunate not to lose. But here, I also have another try after queen h4 check. Probably king g2 instead of king g1. And should be winning to king g2. Then if play happens like in the game, let's say bishop.
I think Jennifer wanted to play queen takes f4. Oh no, this was the queen takes d8 check. Okay, sorry.
Queen takes d8, yeah. Queen takes f4 is actually very wise. Yeah, it's not for queen d8.
Right.
So your feelings then, this game, I thought this game would be a bit demoralizing because you felt you were so winning. And it seemed to last with you throughout the match because you weren't able to get your bearings in the next 4 games, even giving him a full point.
Yeah.
And that blunder as well, rook c8 in the Berlin, I thought you were definitely going to have some kind of mindset, like maybe you weren't getting it done today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point. After that, I had kind of a little bit snowball. I lost this Berlin game. But the thing is, actually, it's not so easy anymore after rook d7. I have to play f takes e6. Yeah, and then I think Fabiano also mentioned this. And then I have to fight stubbornly for a draw. Yep, g6, rook g7. It's also king, rook g7, king f8, rook c7. And then he wins the pawn b7. And it's not so easy to defend because the pawns are split. But yeah, it should be a draw, but not so easy.
So how'd you get your mind right for that last game?
Well, actually, I think the turning point was in the third game in the modern Benoni.
Right, the one you saved.
I was better.
He took on e4.
Right, yeah, I was better. And then when I played rook a3, I suddenly realized he has knight takes e4 and basically toast.
And why do you call this a turning point?
E4. Well, because I saved the game. Like, I mean, it's very important not to lose white games in the match. And I was fortunate enough to save the game because I was really determined to hold this one. Because if I lose this one, then I would have lost 2 in a row. And I would be black next game. And so this was really a turning point today when I saved this very important game. But
did that give you confidence going into the rest of the games?
Sorry?
Did it give you confidence when you say turning point? Did you feel a sigh of relief, like, okay, now you can maybe come back in the match?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because not losing a white game is huge, and I would be down 2 points, and I would have black, so I would probably lose the next one again. But yeah, like in my match with Magnus just a few days ago, I also lost 2 games with white, and that was a huge blow, which I could not recover from. And yeah, the problem in this blitz time controls is I get very ambitious with the white pieces, and then I end up in terrible positions, which I could not save generally. Yeah, that's the problem. You get ambitious with white, and then you get killed. So yeah, there needs to be a fine line.
So tell us,
Wesley, if I could ask a question. In this game in the Benoni, which you described as a turning point in a game that you were determined to save, did you realize at any point during the game that you had missed an actual winning moment, this opportunity after knight takes d5? You very quickly played the move h4, and you had missed this move f4. Did it occur to you after that you may have missed an opportunity?
No, it did not occur to me at all that I have f4 here.
Okay.
Yes.
Because Fabi mentioned that he did see it after he played knight d5 and he felt terrible.
Oh, he did? Yeah, so he did see it. It's interesting. That's interesting because he has like 4 other good moves besides knight takes d5. Exactly. And then your opponent upward, you never know that things could get worse. But yeah, the problem is like I was.
Let me ask you,
sure.
Wesley. Yesterday, you found yourself down after losing a game 6 to Nakamura. That is not yesterday, but 2 days ago, you found yourself down after losing game 6. Now you find yourself up after winning game 6, the exact same scenario. What's your mindset going into tomorrow?
Sorry, you said yesterday
You were down against Nakamura 2 days ago. Day one of the semifinals, you were down because you lost game 6. And he took that clutch game and took a lead 2 points in that clutch game. And he was ahead. Then you got your 13 or 14 hours of sleep. You came back and you blitzed them. Today, you find yourself in that situation that he was in. You're up after winning game 6. What's your thought and your strategy going into tomorrow?
Well, it's very nice to win a clutch game because I haven't won any clutch game yet. And they give a lot of bonus this clutch game, and they're also double the points. So it's the clutch games are actually everything that matters in this tournament. So it's a big sigh of relief that because I let Hikaru escape in this first clutch game, and then I couldn't win any after that. But in terms of the match, we're technically around even right now. But the last 2 games tomorrow will be huge because they're worth 6 points. And
does it matter, given the rollover potential, that tomorrow's games are going to be worth $8,000 each? How does that affect the match?
Well, yeah, it's huge, actually. Also, I'm very pleased that we're having this online tournament. And thank you to you guys for hosting this tournament in St. Louis. Because in these times of weird things happening all over the world, there are actually no chess tournaments like right now. So it's really a big help that we have this online chess tournament, because also for us, the top players, we kind of need a lot of practice in order to maintain our strength. And I haven't played the tournament in 5 months, so I'm feeling a bit rusty right now. But
certainly, Wesley, we know for one, let's thank Dr. Jeannie Singfield and Rex Singfield for their generosity. They wanted to make sure that you guys kept that form. And didn't lose out on the opportunities that you deserve. And everyone here at the club, Joy Bray and Tony Rich lead such a fantastic team, as you know. And we're grateful to you for being one of the great players in the country and regaling us with your talents. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Wesley. Get your rest and good luck.
Good luck,
Thank
Wesley.
you to you guys. Bye-bye.
It
Thank you,
is
Jen.
so much. Yeah.
Good luck, Wesley. Bye for now. Sorry, Jen, what were you saying?
I was going to just say that it's so much fun when Wesley So is playing well, because he's just got this majestic touch, and he's always so so cheerful in the interviews. Just a really brilliant smile. But I think both of these guys, Wesley and Fabi, he goes in as a leader tomorrow. But as Fabiano pointed out, who seems to really be crunching the numbers, by the way, he's got the mind for this type of thing. He's calculated, and he thinks that it's very likely that this final game is going to go into an Armageddon type situation where somebody's going to have more points than the other person, and it's going to be all about winning with white, or sometimes potentially winning with black. But let's take a look at the schedule tomorrow. We've got 4 regular games, and then we've got those 2 clutch games, which are worth triple points. So unless somebody gets way ahead before game 11 and 12, those are going to be the money games, quite literally, in that there's going to be $8K at stake in them, and potentially even more if the 11th game is drawn. But in addition to that, they're going to decide the match, Jazz. And I think that it's going to be game 12 that decides that nobody's going to be out of it until the very last move.
I buy that.
I agree. I agree.
Game 12 is going to make it really important. Unless there's only one way you could have it. If somebody's leading after game 10 and they win game 11, then the match is over. That's
right.
That's going to be a lot of pressure on whoever's trailing at that point, because game 11 could decide it if, for example, things stay the way they are right now. If Fabi doesn't want to see Wesley win that game 11, because then the match is over without game 12. They'll still play, though, because it is $8,000 on the line for game 12 anyway. So they will definitely want that clutch money as well. But in terms of the match itself, those 2 games loom large in the match. It will not end before then. I don't see, actually, it can't end. I don't think now mathematically it can end before game 11.
No, 9.5 points is the magic number. I don't think they can get there.
No, they can't. They can't. There's no way. There's no way. So we know the clutch games 11 and 12 will count. There'll be big time games tomorrow. Very exciting moment for this match. What a day tomorrow will bring. Loving it. I'm very excited.
We're going to see you all tomorrow then. I'm looking forward to it too. Jen, Maurice, thank you so much. It was a great day.
Thanks to all of our viewers, and we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, as we determine the winner of the very first Clutch Chess Showdown.